Good evening, Internet. We're trying to see if we're even on there at the moment. Doc, how you doing, buddy?
Good, good, doing all right.
Thank you for joining us. This is The Game, brought to you by Dungeon Studios. I am your host, Grom, joined, as always, by the over-medicated but not undereducated Dr.Pletorius. How are you doing today, sir?
That is so true. That is so true. I love that intro. That's excellent.
I
I'm
thought of it
doing
just for you
great.
today.
I'm doing great because it's another round of IVIG, so I'm getting my hemoglobin. So it's awesome that you mentioned that tonight. So thank you.
Yeah, no, hey, not a
My
problem
vampire
at
living.
all.
Is this 9? It
So,
is. It is the first odd prime. It's not. It's the first odd number that is not prime. So maybe
okay,
we'll get it by 10.
okay, maybe. Well,
Maybe.
anyways, we work, we're endlessly working on our formatting stuff. It's just me and the doctor tonight, no guests. We do have a saucy topic to go over. We're going to be talking
Gosh,
about,
so much has happened to role playing in a
yeah,
week. It's crazy.
yeah, we're going to be going over the all of the various forms of media that have come out in the last 10, 12 days related to tabletops in general, D&D, D&D 1, Wizards of the Coast. I believe I put it in the live stream description. I've titled today's episode WTF WOTC. But before we get into our main topic this evening, and I promise you
Excellent,
guys we will
excellent.
certainly try to not just complain about Wizards of the Coast, which is one of my favorite things to do, but actually spin out some D&D related or RPG related content for you.
And I'm
In
always very optimistic when he goes off, so I'll try to keep
it's
on
I'm
track.
old. It's how it is.
I'm
But
older than you.
well, yeah,
Jesus.
yeah. So I'm in my vinegar wine phase, and you have mellowed out into a smooth, tasty beverage. But before we get into anything else, let me just go over our shameless plug for the evening. As I said, we are the game brought to you by Dungeon Studios, a growing independent creator of D&D content, who we hope will not get stepped on by bigger, nastier people. Looking at you, wizards. But we appreciate you being here. I just want to remind you and thank you for your time. But like, share, subscribe, send it to your friends. If you listen to us on your favorite podcast application, you can't see any of our video stuff. I want to give a quick shout out and thank you to producer Josh, who has abandoned us this evening. So if our intermission sucks, it's my fault, not his. But everything else, production-wise, is on point. He's amazing at that shit. But I want you to
Yeah,
encourage everyone, check us.
yeah, you can check us out on Patreon at Dungeon
Yep.
Studios.
Yeah, our website, dungeonstudios.co. You can get it.
Check out our Discord.
Yep.
Please, come on. Looking for test players all the time. Dungeon Studios. Just get on your Discord,
Yep.
search it out.
And really quickly, let me hit on that test player thing for anybody that's listening to this shameless plug. Whether you're a new, as long as you're not learning the game, the only people that I would direct elsewhere, as long as you know the basics, show up, test, you can help us contribute. And here's the thing. The modules go out into the wide, wide world, and anyone can buy them, anyone can use them, and anyone can play in them. Whether you're a veteran or a day one DM or a veteran, whether you're a noob or not. So, feedback from people who consider themselves to be inexperienced is every bit as valuable to us as people who've been around forever, like me.
That's right. That's right.
So don't be
Absolutely.
shy. And look, if you're looking for a game, it's a great way to meet new people, get into the various communities, and you will find yourself your own home game at some point in time. I guarantee it.
Yeah, that is the truth. That is the truth. It's like a gateway. Test playing is a gateway to more games, more DMs, more styles of play. We just met someone the last couple of weeks who's listening with us now. He does like mail. It's like you come in, you just put in your one entry for what you do. It's like text playing. So if you don't have time to play full time, you can sort of play with his cat. You come in, make your comments, see what's going on, and then come back 2 days later and see what's happened. So it's kind of cool. There's all
Very,
kinds of things going on.
that's very cool.
Now, let's go. No guests tonight. I've been
Oh wait, I wasn't done though. I'm not done shamelessly
okay.
plugging.
Fine.
I was taking a moment while you were shouting out some of our new people to see if I don't know, maybe I could find the stupid live video on Facebook. But whatever. It's out there. People are listening. We'll figure that shit out eventually. But no, I just want to talk about the one thing we have going on, current projects. And I
Oh
apologize,
yeah.
everybody. I am both physically sick as well as sick in the head, so we're doubling down on what we're normally like. So I apologize in advance. But our current project, we have a Kickstarter going. It is fully funded. Thank you all who contributed very much.
Yeah,
We're currently
absolutely.
working on stretch goal number 2. Now, these things go up in about $500 increments. We're already halfway to number 2. So we've unlocked the Alchemist Cookbook, Le Jour's Alchemist Cookbook, batch of potions and recipes that you can incorporate into your game just as straight up items or as a crafting option. And let me tell you something, day one DM tip right here, do not give up free content. So if the Book of Potions has a way to make potions, that means your wizards have things to go looking for.
That's right. You got great quests all set up to go. It's perfect.
But
Perfect.
we're working on
Items to find.
and our expansion number 3 that we're working on is a 10-pack of plug and play encounters written by the inscrutable Dr.Pletorius. So we're only a few $100 away from that. So
I got to put in there. We got some team members working on those together.
Oh,
So,
nice.
Yeah, it's going to be a nice variety there. Not just one person's style. You got a lot going in that.
Wonderful.
Especially when we heard we hit that second mark. The team pulled together and said, we need to spice it up. That's how it works. So, we may not be done. So let's hit that third one. We'll spice it up some more.
Yeah. Well, like you said, number 3 is an expansion to the cookbook. We're going to get some extra art in there and whatnot. And if we get to our 4th goal, which is that should be 3,500, I think, or 3,000. My math doesn't serve me very well right now, but it's 5 more adventures. So let me explain a little bit about value to everybody. We have 20 days left. Your contribution not only gets you the content that's already been unlocked, but the more people we get in at this point, the higher we push the goals, the more you get for what you paid. So your, $50 today, may only be worth 10 adventures and a cookbook. But if we get enough people in there, it'll be worth 15 adventures and a bigger cookbook.
This really hits into that whole thing we're going to get into later. And when we get into the AI art, but with more money comes more commissions for real art and artists to do more commissioned work. So, as more people fund and back a project, we have more flexibility for the art pieces too. So that's something to think about.
That is absolutely wonderful. On top of that, let's bring this up now. We do have some future projects in the pipeline, expansions to the Enron game setting. We're starting up soon season 2 of Tabletop Cinema, a show, if you're not familiar with it, where we take movie clips. We discuss how to take what's on the screen and turn it into a scene for your RPG table. And we have a few other projects going on as well that we've been looking for people for that are in the development stages. So stick around, check it out, hang out with us. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And I tell you, if you're a fan, if you're a consumer of nerd content, like, share, and subscribe this video. If you're a creator of nerd content, no matter what level, reach out to us. Whether you're a writer, voice talent, play tester, help us level up our content.
Yeah. We're doing a show called The Fable of the Forgotten, and we're presently listening to some voice actors who are doing some tryout pieces, and it's very, very exciting. I've been so busy playing. Tomorrow is my day to catch up and start listening to these voice actor tryout pieces. It's super exciting.
Nice.
Yeah, it's super exciting.
Yeah, no, it's they're fun projects, and I like what we're doing, and I like where we're going. And I like that we have these things to do. So, all right, well, moving on with our show, I like to go into my favorite part in the first half of the show. It's shit that I forgot. So, we talked about horror last week with our friend of the show, our guest, and a fellow writer at Dungeon Studios, Hell's historian,
Barry the Movie Demon.
Thank you very much. But we talked about horror. One of the things that we were chatting about during the course of things, though, was we were talking about a horror map, movies by state that Doc had dug up. We hit out a few, the well-known ones and whatnot. And it got me thinking that there's some obscure states out there that I could not think of a horror movie from. So
I was very excited. This was something you forgot. You wanted to come back to.
Absolutely. Well, because
what states were you considering?
Here's the thing. I'm going to go. Let's do it like this. I want to run through the big ones that people might not realize, but I think 99.9% of Stephen King horror is in Maine. Correct?
Okay. They have Carrie in Maine.
Well, I thought isn't everything he writes in Maine? I'm pretty sure. I mean, Misery and.
I don't want to give anything away.
Okay.
Keep going.
All right. And then I know New York's got a couple of famous ones. The Ichabod Crane, the Headless Horseman. I know we talked about Florida. We talked about Jeepers Creepers, and I'm pretty sure that we didn't bring up some of the big horror franchises. Obviously, Halloween's in Haddonfield, Illinois. I don't remember where Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street are.
Illinois is correct.
Yep.
Oh, we did hit on Nightmare last time. They have in Ohio.
Was it okay? That's in Ohio. Okay.
Yes.
And then
Nightmare
is
in
Camp
Ohio.
Crystal Lake in Indiana?
No, we talked about this last week too. It's in New Jersey.
Okay. See, my brain doesn't work anymore. So all right.
Yeah. I think they were actually playing on that whole Pennsylvania, New Jersey city folk going to the woods.
Oh, I gotcha. All right. So here's what I forgot to ask though, is give me the weird states where nothing happens, horror movies. So Iowa.
Okay, so you want Iowa? Let me find it here on the map. Okay, Iowa. Oh, this is an interesting one. Now, this is a movie I have not seen. Maybe you've seen it. The Crazies.
I'm familiar with that a little bit.
I do not know that movie at all. It's funny you say that because now that I'm looking at this whole Mississippi belt here is kind of I don't know these movies that well.
Really?
Yeah. All right. If I move north to Minnesota, do you know Jennifer's Body?
I do know that one. All
right. Then we'll go down. How about we'll go down to Mississippi here? So then we'll go to Missouri. You got You're Next. Another one I'm not familiar with.
Okay. Now, see, here's the thing. I was going to leave out all of the, and I apologize ahead of time for anybody who might live there. I was going to leave out all the hillbilly states because I know that there's going to be some movie involving a banjo, somebody squealing like a pig, and things that we can't share on the interwebs. But okay, so all right, so so Idaho, nothing ever happens there, but like you said, the Crazies, I get that. That is another hillbilly kind of thing. Horror movie.
I do like Tennessee.
Okay, what's Tennessee?
It's a classic. Evil Dead.
Really?
Yes.
Evil Dead is a phenomenal movie.
Yes, that's why I think that's just great. And I believe we have a listener from Tennessee, so I give him another shout out. Woo!
Nice. All right. Let's see. What about another middle of nowhere state that nothing ever happens in? One of the square ones.
One of the square ones.
Like not Wyoming, but
well, let's just talk about while we're talking about an almost square state.
Okay.
You were saying Stephen King. I'm surprised you have The Shining in Colorado.
Okay.
Right, with the hotel.
I think that's the only one, by the way, that I've ever heard for Colorado.
But
Colorado's one of the square states. Yep.
And I did get to visit that hotel.
Really?
That's kind of
the Overlook, right?
Yeah, my brother actually lived in Colorado for a while. So what's it called? The Bell. I can't remember the name, the reality name of it.
Okay. Nice.
No, but it's we didn't do any official tour or anything. We just went there and checked it out, kind of thing. But it was cool, and nothing creepy happened. I keep telling you, I don't have any really good ghost stories. I'm so sad. I need a good ghost to visit me.
Let me tell you something, dude. Like you said, the Stanley. Thank you very much.
Stanley, thank you.
In the chat, I appreciate it. Wrong Turn. I'm familiar with that one. Hills have eyes.
Some people could debate The Shining though because it could just be a dream. There's a lot going on there. But anyway, so one more state, we'll move on. Go.
All right. I'm trying to get what's another out of the way state.
Another square. Do you want another square?
No. What's the weird one between Oregon? Oregon. What's in Oregon? Give me a horror movie in Oregon.
What's in Oregon? Oh, this kind of makes sense.
What?
The Fog.
Oh God, that's terrible. I'm calling a mulligan. I want to know what happens in North Dakota. That fucking movie sucks. Give me North Dakota.
Oh wait, you picked a good one. You know what happened in North Dakota?
What?
Leprechaun.
With Warwick Davis?
That looks like the logo. I mean, it's just I have like the official movie logo in there. That looks like it.
All right,
I like that.
Nice. All right, well, hey, like you said, that was shit. I forgot. Like I said, that's it was a topic that I'm super into. I love horror movies.
Also led me down a rabbit hole, everybody, because I also now have the map of the urban legends of the 50 states, but I'm saving that one for another one. So hold on to that.
Those are also some of my favorites. So, really quick, like I said, I promise you guys, hard hitting, cutting edge D&D content. We're talking about horror movies in the States. We've talked about it a few times on the channel, but I will remind everybody a good day one DM tip. You can take an obscure horror movie. We talked to Barry about this last week. Take a horror movie that no one's ever seen. B movies are great for this, and you can very easily adapt the events in the movie to a storyline for a game. Classic B movie science fiction. Them, giant radioactive ants killing everybody. I'm pretty sure that's just every first level ANCAG adventure in the existence of D&D is based on that movie.
So well, it's funny. It's funny. I was going to say this because we were talking about this earlier. There was a guy on Facebook, Dungeons and Dragons for Old Dudes, and he went back and said, "Hey, can somebody help me with pre-1984 movies?" And he put Excalibur, Dragon Slayer, Clash of the Titans, Lord of the Rings, Krull, Hawk, the Dragon Slayer, the Court Jester, Wizards, Time Bandits, Conan the Barbarian, Fire and Ice, Warlords, Sword and the Sorcerer, Last Unicorn, Monty Python, and the Holy Grail. Yes. And then they have the great one in there, Golden Voyage of Sinbad and Heavy Metal. Gosh, those are like 77 to 82, I think.
Yeah, okay.
There's tons and tons of stuff to use out there.
Yeah, I forgot about that. So you and I are of an elder vintage, as we were discussing earlier. So the things that I go, oh my God, the players are going to know I stole this.
Right.
Are now the old movies that people go, I've never heard of that before. And I always forget that shit. And like I said, I find myself in my daily life, I will make movie references that nobody gets. And I'm like, oh, you haven't seen that movie that came out like 37 years ago before you were born?
Let me ask you this, because I've seen it a lot on Facebook also this week. Do you have the Krull weapon in one of your campaigns? You know what I'm talking about?
When I was younger, absolutely.
All right.
I have not in a while. Now that I'm older.
Okay, no, I've seen it. No, I've seen it appear, and man, there's been some really good images. Maybe AI art has helped. Maybe some people have been like AR.
Oh, jeez. Well, here's the thing. The problem with that, just in general, is that item is so overpowered in the movie.
Right.
If anything you translate less than it being amazing, people go, "Well, this weapon sucked. It was so much cooler in the movie."
All right, sorry, I took you off there.
No, you're good. So
much to go. There's so much to use. You can go back and get.
Yeah, 100%. Like I said, people get weird about it. They don't want to copy stuff. Let me tell you something. I just read this quote today that a good writer borrows heavily from other good writers, but a great writer steals from them shamelessly. So
that's right. Absolutely. That's what made J.K. Rowling so good. She's the best at stealing, man. She got some magic steal power.
All right, hey, I gotta bring. It's okay. Since you mentioned her, I gotta bring this up. Have you seen the video that she just stole the plot of Star Wars for Harry Potter?
I did not, but I did hear something about this.
All right. Well, this shit's amazing. I can't do it justice by explaining it, but when the guy starts talking about the young chosen one who doesn't know his background meets the old wizard mentor against the Dark Lord, and he goes, he's got light, and they have a lightsaber. Do you know what a wand is? It's just a shitty lightsaber. That's what a wand is. Dude, I fucking lost it.
Well, you go into that. You go into that whole what's that adventure? The adventure.
It's Keep on the Borderlands. No, not Keep. I'm sorry. Is it Keep on the Borderlands? Yeah, Keep on
the adventure circle. That's the whole. Anyway, never mind.
No, you're good. All right, so let's get this shit back on track because we're a train wreck. Let's go. I want to get into your week in gaming. How did it go? What did you do? Or do you want me to go first?
I can go first. I can go first because it was it was a very different type of game. I was kind of excited to talk about it tonight a little bit because I said in our Raven Brew, again, no spoilers, they finished Yesterhill, and I told everybody they had survived. So they were leaving to regroup with Van Richten, who had Tatiana or Ariana, I always use the wrong names, in the tower, trying to keep her isolated from Strahd. And the party gets there, and they meet Esmeralda. And actually, they meet Esmeralda for the first time, but they have met Esmeralda in other realities. So that's kind of like a bigger plot twist I have going for them.
Okay.
And then the players went into their whole like, okay, we're in our home base. All right, what spells do we need? Let's strategize. Hey, DM, can we have some time to talk about this and that? And then they were like pulling all their old notes together and asking questions. And I was going back through the guides and doing references. And that's something that's not in the book either. It was a very exciting session for everybody to kind of like tie up different things they didn't remember from months ago. And like, oh yeah, I remember when we rescued that kid. Yeah. So I got to play a lot of non-player characters and put a lot of pieces together.
Yep.
And then they did actually get in the wagon. Get in the carriage. As Strahd has invited them in, and they have to get in. They get into the castle, and the organ's playing, and they go in the first chamber, and the dragons are there. They're invited in. They go past them. They go through the gargoyle room. The elf, whisks them points them into the dining room. They go in. And that scene is Empire Strikes Back. Darth Vader is right there, and you just start shooting at Darth Vader. Because
100%.
So he's an illusion. They're all freaking out. And then we always talk about this, the suspense. They took that room to the ultimate heights of horror because somebody tried to see if the organ, what was up with it. And somebody wanted to know why someone was rolling or someone was investigating or perceiving, and was somebody on somebody else's side who was being the bad. I wasn't doing a thing. It was great. The paranoia was like so stacked up. And then they got into the room with the mirrors, where all the mirrors of the castle have been taken and put in one place because Strahd, is not ready for that. Mirrors in his place, and we had to call it. Right there after their super, build up. But it was great because the organ stops and they're locked in the castle. It's like, yes. Now, my Chronic Adventurers, I'm sad to say I had postponed them and asked them to come to our test play for Saturday at Dungeon Studios. But we all called in sick. That Chronic group always has that option, to not have to play if they're not feeling well or whatever. So we didn't get a test play off the ground on Saturday, so that was a little bit weepy for me.
Oh, that sucks.
But I did.
Oh, sorry.
I did wait. My weekend game in. I did get that test play off this morning.
I saw.
And we did a murder mystery, and I don't want to give anyone else away because that's our test play.
Okay.
So very different.
I caught the tail end of that. Heard some of the feedback
exciting.
and
very exciting. To do a murder mystery instead of a dungeon crawl. Very exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited by some of the feedback that we're getting and having people involved in the process because I think we mentioned this last week, and it's one of the things I'm going to circle back to. I didn't get to finish my notes because I was busy doing other stuff. But
you're still looking for Facebook Live?
No, I got it. I'm good.
All right,
I had to have somebody send it to me, but no, one of the things in my notes was about the DM problem. These videos. It's one of the things coming up later in the show. I'm not going to start it now, but one of the things that it talks about reminded me of, a tip that we had given out and some things we had talked about regarding like DM prep and how much you know, how much you have ready. And I believe I made the point
about that a lot.
Yeah, and I believe I made the point last week. You have to accept something really quick. Everything you present to your players is almost always going to be your first draft. And to steal shamelessly from professional writers, I've heard it written. Jesus God, I'm losing my mind. I've read it and I've heard it that the writing process is step 1, write your first draft. Step 2, throw that away and write your second draft, which is now your new first draft. It is what it is. Accept it. Things are going to work. They're not going to work. So my week in gaming. Speaking of this, I got to do a couple of things. So I got to recover in my main game. We are playing through my homebrew world of Sorelia. We're playing a campaign, and this one is titled Tales of the Northern Province. A wonderful sandboxy kind of game set against the backdrop of events that will become known as the Springfire Rebellion. So the players, having ignored one of them last week, I finally got his backstory stuff together. I stopped being a shitty DM. I sent it to him, and let me tell you something. I have a joke I won't share about how no one can humble you like your significant other. Well, no one can take a shot right in your DM bona fides like a player who doesn't know better. So the new player who I ignored last week, who's been coming out of his shell, a really nice kid. In case he listens to this, don't take it the wrong way. So I finally sat down and I got to write the backstory stuff, which was a lot of the kind of the generic lore his character would know, things that I would fill in for him, but he doesn't know to ask yet. But also some specific stuff, and I gave him some tips. I wrote it out like, here's the lore, but here's how to use this, and it's like and it was, hey, look, it's as simple as this, man. Here are the 3 or 4 main options for how your character's race. I'm not changing my language. Race, has left the island and integrated into the main world. Here's what's going on, right? So there are 3 or 4 ways. Here are the things that your people are doing in the mainland. Here's 3 or 4 options.
Right.
I go, so you don't need to have you don't need to write a novel. I don't need to write you one, but make the choices, the 3 or 4 things, and that will inform the stuff that you do. So if you decide that you escaped your island instead of being chosen to go, then obviously it's going to inform your decisions. You're going to avoid the official delegation from your homeland because you're not supposed to be here. If you were sent to get secret information about the outside world to feed back to your government, then you're going to treat opportunities to meet powerful people differently than if you were out to prove yourself as a hero to improve the standing of your people in the wider world. I go. So a couple of simple choices, 4 or 5 things out of these lists of backstory of lore stuff, and you're good. You don't need any more than that. You can certainly do more. So I wrote all that up. I sent it to him, and he sends me a text back. I go, hey man, I finally did it. I'm really sorry. Here's everything. Read through it. You got several days before the game, and he goes, oh, okay. Like 30 seconds later, hey, is there an audiobook version of this shit? Because I can't read all this. And I'm like, fucking seriously? So I've been kicking myself for weeks for not having written this shit up for him. I finally do it. And he's like, yeah, dude, I ain't got time for this.
You use Google Docs? You use Google Docs?
No. So I...
you use Google Docs and tell them to use text to voice. Done. Bam.
I didn't know that was an option.
Oh yeah, dude, that's why I love Google so much, man. Oh yeah. You can
nice.
download it to very easy. I'll do a little lesson one
night. I didn't know it's got that built in. That's wonderful. However, like I said, most of what I sent him is essentially the first draft of things because some of it I hadn't fleshed out entirely because I didn't need to. So it probably would read terribly if that was the case.
Right.
So. But hey, so that was
it. You only had the one game?
No, I had another one.
As I say, this is just the backstory. So what happened? What happened with the games?
So in the game, so they had agreed to look at some things for the patron. The last session they tracked down, bodies have gone missing, that were reported, and their prospective patron is really concerned for the safety of the city and is worried that a death cult might be forming somewhere. So she had asked those who went into her service if they would, on her behalf, to help the city out, if they would try to look into this and see what they could discover. So they tracked down a location and then met some nefarious people involved in this underground business of buying corpses. Then they weren't, and so they were playing it off originally as if they were in the market for someone to clean up their messes. A few choices were made though, and the session ended with an individual kind of cornering them in an alley and politely letting them know that we're going to have a conversation about some things. So that's where that one ended. A little bit of investigation. They're getting going on this little story arc, and are learning more and more. But there was a lot of good interactions and RP stuff. And I remembered that we actually had a new player, so I made him interact with some stuff. I gave him some things to do, and we gambled. I brought in I have a bunch of gambling games. I brought a new one in. So last week I introduced one that I stole from you'll get this one, Doc, from the Flash Gordon movie.
Oh gosh, yeah.
So you remember the scene where they all put their hands in the little pot and the scorpion runs around killing people? I turned that into a gambling game for my D&D thing. This week was depending on where you're at, Pop Goes the Goblin. So small box center of a table. You wager on people throwing knives at something. Everyone starts their feet on the table, and then at random the stuffed little goblin pops out. Although depending on where you're at, it might be a live goblin or gnome eventually. First one to hit it can win money out of the pot. If there's a bunch of other rules on it. But I wanted to change it because a lot of the dexterity-based games are like, well, we're throwing knives at a target. Like that's not fun.
Right.
So,
Right.
So working on that. But I got to do something that I have not done in a while, and that I was looking forward to. Is I ran a intro Shadowrun game for a group of people here in my town.
You were telling me you were excited about this.
I was very excited. So I destroyed my voice a little bit because I like to be enthusiastic with some of the voices. So in my dark and dystopian future, there was a burger war. Again, not the most original idea. I stole it from the Demolition Man movie.
Okay.
Right, back in the 80s. Which is a good cheesy sci-fi action flick if you want to watch one. But they had a burger war in there, so in theirs it's all restaurants are Taco Bell, right? I'm like, that's such a cool idea. So I stole that shit. In my Shadowrun world, 2 restaurants survived. It was Del Taco and McDougal's.
Okay.
Where you can get a fine haggis burger and a minty green shake all year round.
Oh, I like the accent.
But don't take too long to order. There's people got to order behind you. So hurry up! I can't do. I almost lose my voice. So I described it. So I get them into the rules, and we picked up the 2nd edition rules of Shadowrun. They have issues. They're not as good a rule system as I would like, but they are leaps and bounds better than the dumpster fire that the current editions are. My opinion. So pre-made characters, a basic run. You find out that a corporate quality inspector from McDougal's is going to be making his site visits to a local restaurant. And he has with him a device that gives access to the proprietary systems inside the restaurant where the recipe for the minty green shake is stored. So the runners need to find a way to get into the back of the restaurant and get a hold of this guy and get his briefcase or whatever the technology is stored in and get out. The trick is, in 2075, corporations are nation states. McDougal's is not just a restaurant. It's like an embassy. So once you step on the sidewalk, you are in their country, and they can shoot you in the head and leave you to die in the street if they wanted to, and it's perfectly okay.
The computer has analyzed your DNA.
So
it has touched the sidewalk.
So once shit starts, you got 5 minutes before the strike team shows up to clean the restaurant. What are you gonna do?
I have to play Shadowrun with you one day. I've never played it. It sounds so exciting.
Let me tell you something. It is wonderful. And here's the thing. So, and I hadn't realized it at first, but it's not as. I always thought it used to be a real complicated system, but I actually realized the crunch is all front loaded. If you make your own character, it's a lot of crunchy bits.
Right.
But outside of that, it is essentially just the vampire system with D6s. So you have skills and stats that give you a number of dice to roll. You have a target number to achieve. And that's it. It's as simple as that. The only weird rules in the entire thing are they combine a lot of stats to create dice pools, which I personally like this because it removes the D&D problem of having dexterity be the best stat and intelligence being
used. It does when they stack like that.
So if you have a shitty intelligence, having good physical stats, it mitigates it a bit. So that's good. Right. The Matrix is awesome in concept because we all love the movies, I think, right?
Right.
So the problem is no matter how you try to run it in Shadowrun, there's usually only one decker in the group, a hacker. So you basically have to play a whole separate session with them in the middle of your session to do what they do.
I totally get what you're saying. That there's only one hacker. They're solo on that segment. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's like
Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, you either remove that player's whole reason for existing by not giving them their own spotlight, or you make everybody watch them role play alone for an hour. So we're trying
to find. I guess online playing and playing with your hacker separately would be the way to run something like that.
Maybe. Since you said that, it might be a good idea. I've never been in a position to try this. It would be cool if you were running a session and you had a co-DM, because then they could
hacker runs through
with the co-DM.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
I could do that for you. We can talk about that. That could be.
Yeah, it's nice. But then the third thing with the system that's a little weird is just they have a very unique gating mechanism, which I'm a fan of. Not the mechanical side of it, but the concept, and it's right along with what the original thematic stuff in Dragonlance campaign setting was.
Okay.
Is that casting magic takes a physical toll on the caster. So in Shadowrun, there's no spell points or spell slots or anything. You could cast 1 million spells a day, but every time you cast a spell, there's a chance that you hurt yourself, and then the more you hurt yourself, the harder it is, and the more likely you are to get further injured.
Is it cumulative, or
yes.
That same thing could? Okay, it's cumulative too.
Sorry. No, so it builds up.
Yeah,
so it's I like the gating mechanism. Yeah, so it's one of the things in like I said in back to D&D stuff.
I was going to say, has that mechanic ever been used in D&D, like in a special situation?
Yes, actually, no. You know what? Yes, it has, and I'll get that. There's 2 versions of it. So, fluff wise, in Dragonlance, that was always the idea. So the main character, Raistlin, I don't care how you pronounce it, but I say Raistlin. It's a big deal, the fact that his body was physically shattered during his test to become a wizard, and that even that spellcasting has a huge impact on him physically, which plays into a lot of the events of the story. So there have been systems that do that, but the one in D&D that is the most mechanical of it was in Dark Sun. You had 2 kinds of casters,
yes,
preservers.
I do remember this. Yes,
preservers and defilers, and you had to burn up some sort of life to work magic.
But weren't the planets involved in Dark Sun too? The moons or something?
No, Dragonlance has the moons.
Okay.
Dark Sun is that the planets are Athos is the planet. It's already been burnt out. So preservers. I think had to burn hit points. They had to do something to cast spells, and then defilers, same thing, except because they were evil, they would drain the life force out of life around them to work magic, so that they didn't have to pay the cost themselves.
Okay.
So it had that. Really quick, somebody pointed out in the chat. Just Shadowrun is cyberpunk with fantasy added into it. So. But so that was
futuristic Earth, like Blade Runner kind of deal, and then you can also like jump into the computer like Matrix and
crazy. What was nice and kind of a segue into some of the stuff we're going to talk about later with D&D and things in the media. When I was explaining the game to the players who weren't familiar with it, I said, let me give you some references on what to watch, and I pointed out. Old movies like Johnny Mnemonic, the Matrix itself are great for that. Blade Runner is a great kind of thematic Shadowrun universe that you get that dark and gritty dystopian future. And then you move into modern stuff. Netflix put out a really good one called Bright, which I'll tell you right now, it's worth watching. It's a good movie. I scrutinized the credits because I was waiting to see that they had to give some sort of credit to Shadowrun or its publishers, old or new. There wasn't anything in there, and I'm like, I don't exactly understand how they got away with this shit, because it's about 95% accurate to Shadowrun. But then I said, I go, here's another movie you can watch that will help you understand Shadowrun. Movies like Ocean's 11 or The Italian Job, and they're like, Really? Why? Well, I mean, part of what you do is break into places and steal things.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
heist movie. Like, why would you not have thought about heist movies? Because everyone gets caught up in the the shoot 'em up part of it. Which
Well, I would even say Mission Impossible, where you have
yep,
one
that's
hacker
another
who's
good
trying to
one.
get through the computer system, right?
Yeah, no, that's another good. I didn't even think about that. It's another good
Yeah,
example of it too.
yeah. Uh,
Yeah, but yeah. So our run it went exactly as every Shadowrun game goes. There was a great session of planning, legwork, reaching out to contacts, making a plan, making an overly elaborate backup plan, another overly elaborate third plan, and then the second the plan starts, they go to kidnap somebody to steal their identification and impersonate them. They get out of the van and immediately run into a local gang kind of hanging out in the street corner. And as soon and the gang throws out a little hey, you got to pay the toll. The immediate response from one of the players was, "Why shoot him in the chest?" I'm like, "All right, exactly what Shadowrun's all about. Let's go." Just the first second, the first whiff of resistance, right to the guns.
Shoot them.
I love
it. Shoot them all.
I will tell you though, it worked out. If you're getting fuzzes from me, by the way, audio quality, I apologize. It's one of those things. I was looking for something at one point, closing Windows, I think, and that unfortunately might have caused me to have a little audio quality issue. So I apologize to everybody if you had to suffer with that.
He's still trying to see if we're on Facebook.
No, I know. I have Facebook up. I see that we are on there. We are good to go. Oh God! Don't.
Hey, Facebook, what's up? What's up?
Yeah. Hey, what's going on? But that was my week in gaming, man. So thank you for asking. And I think with that, it's time to take our weekly visit to the doctor's office. So, Doc, what do you got for us?
All right. Something very exciting. This topic, I wanted to talk about the difference, and we see this in D&D all the time. People talk about runes, glyphs, and sigils.
Sigils.
Sigils. Sorry, I always say that one wrong. Sigils. Okay. So I think I want to kind of dive into them real quick.
Okay.
And obviously, do you know the difference between a rune, a glyph, and a sigil? Do you have like your own definitions of them in your brain kind of thing? Or?
Yeah, well, let me start out with this. Nobody mispronounces rune and glyph. They only mispronounce sigil.
That is true. And I'm going to probably say it wrong the whole time today.
No. Well, here's the thing. I don't. It's one of those things. I think that's how you pronounce it, right? But there's probably some English professor around the world who's turning over in their grave because I said it wrong.
That's true.
Which hilarious, quick hilarious story about that. When Tolkien was writing Lord of the Rings, he had read it. He had written it and wrote Jesus God. When he was writing Lord of the Rings, he referred to the dwarves as DWARVES, dwarves. Is what we're all familiar with. He sent it in to the editor, who sent him back the manuscript with red marks and notes saying, "Don't you mean dwarfs? DWARFS, right? Dwarfs."
Right,
to which
right.
Tolkien replied, "Thank you, sir, for your keen observation. However, I wrote the Oxford Dictionary. It's dwarves." And that was just the end of it. Like, he just didn't question it after that. But that word didn't exist. The fantasy word didn't exist because they didn't exist in English literature until that point.
Yeah,
so.
it's interesting because that word goes on to be used by wizards in some of their crafting.
100%. Now back to your topic though, with
right.
glyphs, runes, and sigils. Runes. I'll start with these. Historically, real world were a big part of Scandinavian Viking culture.
You're on it. Okay.
Thought to possess magical powers, and were used in religious ceremonies and rituals and whatnot. Like in the show Vikings, when Ragnar Lothbrok is dying, his friend who he had recently kind of abused is so overwhelmed that he carves runes and leaves them on Ragnar's chest in the hopes that they will help him recover.
Yeah, these are perfect examples.
Yep.
Yeah,
And since I mentioned dwarves, I associate runecraft with dwarves in D&D, with dwarves in fantasy, because dwarves are crafters, and runes are what are used to enchant objects. So I associate that with that. Glyphs and sigils are, in my mind, arcane writings.
Okay. Okay.
Glyphs primarily used as warnings, although
Well,
historic.
let's say this too. Look, because we have to definitely put glyphs into the pictograph
Well,
symbol.
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I think the most well known glyphs are hieroglyphs,
Yep. Yep. And then
Egyptian
of
writing.
course petroglyphs
Yep, which
in
is
the
carved in
U.S.
stone, right?
Yep. Yep. Oh well, some of them are also painted
Okay.
in certain situations.
All
Yeah.
right. And then sigil, I believe the common use is it would be a drawn, painted, or scribed rune that represents someone or something. So a wizard would have a personal sigil.
Oh, you're definitely nailing a lot of this down. Really, really good. The sigil was definitely your best take.
Okay.
Glyphs I find really interesting, um, because the one thing about a glyph, they're a shape or symbol, and looking at all these different magics, they're the ones that date back the furthest.
Okay.
Okay, so you're going to 13,000 BCE, cave in France, mind altering geometric patterns on the wall. They're thinking for some kind of shamanic ritual.
So,
Um,
okay, I got something for you on that one. Okay, keep
well,
going.
wait. They have a spiral carved
Mhm.
on a Siberian inside from Siberian 24,000-year-old spiral carved on a mammoth tooth.
Okay.
Um,
Also links to something crazy in my brain. Let's keep going.
okay, um, and then you said that runes definitely are mostly associated with Nordic, and actually the word is used interchangeably in that culture. Really, the other thing about glyphs that's really important, I think, to bring up is that glyphs are fonts themselves. So when you start talking about glyphs, it's not just a magical thing. Just the way people form their letters is considered a glyph. Now, when you want to spice up your wizards,
Hmm.
and I really feel like 5e did it right, and it's really up to the DM to like make it into a good campaign for a wizard when you have a wizard. But they talk about powder glyphs and using different powder herbs to draw glyphs with when you're casting spells.
Okay.
We'll go into that when we do the connections back to the game. But I thought that's really, really cool. Um, Now, the other thing that's interesting with sigils,
Yep.
what makes a sigil different is that a sigil is used for focus or concentration. And most sigils are actually developed from words. Remember, you used to make that doodle of your own name where you'd like lay the letters of your own name over and over, and it would make like kind of some kind of cool, wacky geometric pattern.
Nope.
Have you ever done that? You've never done that.
No, I've only done the every kid's favorite crazy S from the '90s.
All right. Oh yeah, the crazy S, the crazy S. And don't worry, that was from before the '90s, buddy. That was
Okay.
from the '70s, and it was probably from before that anyway. But anyway, so all right, anybody out there want to make a sigil? You make one. What you basically do is you make a circle, and then
Hmm.
you pick what your intention is, and basically you write it out. And the one thing I was reading about you could use is you leave out the vowels, but you write the letters on top of each other or over and over again in a pattern so that they make a design or a glyph. Makes sense? So it makes its own symbol. And then you use that symbol and use it for, positive intentions. We
Okay.
talk about a lot of this with meditation and using positive intentions, but that's basically how they used them in ancient times was, if you were cursing someone, you use their name and you put it inside the sigil, and then you would use certain herbs and use those certain herbs that would curse someone or bless someone and pour it in that sigil shape that you had designed so you could focus your concentration and all your mental effort on that spell. So that's kind of the difference there with the sigil being a very, very specifically spell orientated, targeted thing. Does that make sense?
It does. I realized something really quick. Digital notes are wonderful for prep. I need a notepad so I can write shit down as I go. I got 3 things to hit you with from what you brought up. So,
All right.
you mentioned some of these oldest carvings and whatnot are geometric patterns and shapes. I have listened to a lot of discussions about how shamanistic traditions, world religions, a lot of legends, and it's Christmas time in the States. Even
Yeah.
Santa Claus could be derived from psychedelic experiences with hallucinogenic mushrooms and things. Now, I'm not going to get too deep into that. I am only relaying things that I've heard that I found to be historically interesting. I'm not advocating that you go out and, pick shrooms off cow flops to get messed up. Please don't do that. But very interesting that the experiences can't really be described in words by the people who've had them. They typically speak in terms of emotion. So you felt a certain way, or it revealed that the source of a feeling was something. But they all have one thing in common. Do you know what that is? Is that they see things as geometrically expressed patterns.
Right.
So
Right.
if you're looking at, so if what you're saying is these cave drawings are geometric patterns, then it's entirely possible that it is people, that was ancient people, tripping balls.
Right. Right.
But there's a lot where it's interesting, and this is a good way you can segue this into your games, by the way. Is you can have these kind of weird, bizarre things show up that are indescribable, which is silly for an RPG because you got to describe it. But you know what I'm saying? Described as indescribable, bizarre patterns, and then what we find out in many ancient cultures is that there were the rituals, like things like the Euclidean mysteries, which was a secret cult. Wasn't it? Well, it was secret rituals, part of the pagan religions back in the Roman times, and emperors would go to be indoctrinated in the Euclidean mysteries. And
It's interesting. Yeah, I have one here, 1673.
Yeah.
There are 2 drawings of astrological sigil coins and amulets by these mathematicians
Yeah.
that were passed around, and supposedly there was some kind of secret society
I like that stuff.
between them all. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's
Well,
another thing
so
I
what I
have
was
led into.
so what I was saying is in your games, you can have characters be aware of this stuff, experience it, but they found archaeological evidence of ergot, which is fungus that grows on wheat, and is psychedelically active. They found that residue of that in the cups and things from a lot of these religious ceremonies. So in your game, if you wanted to add some depth to cults, good or bad, whatever your perceptions are, it's entirely up to you how you want to play it. You could have a city, and this actually happened, by the way. So this is a good one you can steal from history. A city in France went on like a 2-month psychedelic bender. And they described all sorts of, they had apocalyptic visions. People were like clawing their skin off their body, horrific things, right? Horror movie stuff, cool fantasy stuff. What they found out was that a blight had come through and had impacted their wheat harvest. So they were making bread and beer and things with fungus infested wheat.
Oh
And
gosh.
they were having these trips, and they were seeing like demons and shit like that. So I don't know, I don't remember the specifics of where it's at, so you can look it up. But like that's a great historical thing that you could steal that for a game very easily. And and like I said, if you can go at it a couple different ways, you can have people find these strange carvings that didn't exist before that are out of place, right?
Right. Right.
And then that leads them to think that something weird's going on, and they meet people that are fucking
Well,
crazy
now,
out of their
now
head.
here's one too. Just to go into this deeper, they have this thing called spell grinds,
Okay.
and what spell grinds are geometric patterns. All right. So basically, you could have adventures where they find a sigil,
Uh-huh.
and then in the northeast of your town, and then in the southwest they find another sigil, and then in each corner that's they find sigils, and they're actually focusing power somewhere in the center, and then there's different patterns. So you could use one of these in your game where the sigils start appearing, and then they have to figure out the pattern of the sigils and where the baddie could be at
Okay.
the center sigil or whatever. So that's kind of a cool thing. I didn't know that was involved, and that's how magic circles work.
Right.
Um, so when you want to like do like a demon circle in your game or whatever, and you have that demon's name that you want to play, again, you could use that little sigil thing I was talking about and really make a sigil for that devil that you're using in your game. That's the secret that the players can't find out about, or someone finds, or the true name could just be
I
the
like that.
sigil of that demon instead of its name. And then sigils themselves, magic circles, are built with sigils around them. So like say at the north position, there might be a sigil for power, and then on the south sigil one for luck, and then on the right one, depending on what you're trying to bring into the circle, you have different sigils going around. And that could be another campaign idea
I
where
like that.
you have to go to different wizards and get the different sigils so that you have them for a certain ritual or whatever. So it's kind of neat. But I didn't know there was that much difference. I all thought they were the same thing. So it's really neat to see the difference.
Yes. And one other way you could spin this, and we actually have a subclass that was in testing around runes and whatnot.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
You could certainly turn this into a magic system. You could expand on it. One of the things that I like, and it's maybe not practical for a pen and paper version of the game, but would be wonderful digitally. Your character goes around and you either learn or find runes, sigils, and glyphs. And then, like you said, about you layer them on top of each other to curse somebody or whatnot.
Right.
Well,
right.
imagine if you could find these, and as your character learns them, you start to combine them. Maybe not in different patterns and repetitions, and then that would create effects. But without
yes, I'm so excited about this topic. Sorry.
Yeah. No. And the thing is, you have the symbols, but unless you find someone who knows how to do this kind of magic, you don't actually know what's going to happen when you draw these on top of each other and in what combinations and how it's going to go. Kind of like a wild magic system, but with runes.
Yeah. Now I noticed this. Another place I saw them coming this week. I've been writing a little thing called Basement of Arcane Secrets, a little adventure, and magic item, a cubic gate, will have sigils representing the planes that it can teleport things to or whatever. So, you got 6 sides. What sigils are on that cube make a big difference too. So that's something to think about when you're including them in your game too.
I always like having excuse me. I always like having these things as visual puzzles, things you can give the players that they can touch and interact with.
And that's why I like them too. That's why I brought it up too. Having them around to be visual cues and stuff for players is awesome.
Yes. No, and actually, speaking of one final thing on sigils, I actually made it a point in my official Dungeon Studios headshot art that my old school original character had a wizard's sigil, and I made sure that it was included on the jewelry that the piece is wearing. That is my mage mark, an old Forgotten Realms rule from back. My original character. Yeah.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah, I like it very much.
So that was the visit to the doctor's office.
I like
sigils, glyphs, and I finally said sigils right, didn't I?
Well, like I said, I might be wrong. That's how I pronounce it. But
Okay.
we are Americans. We don't speak good. We are Americans. We don't speak gooder English than other people. So who knows?
All right. So don't forget to incorporate some sigils, glyphs, and runes.
Yep.
But there's so much to do with them. I mean, I have so many ideas popping out of my head.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And hey, I'll tell you one thing. We're going to talk. And you mentioned AI art and we've talked about a few things. We got a bunch of stuff coming up. I will say, man, I love the look of arcane symbols and whatnot. And I've seen our spell card template often incorporates those. And
Yes.
sorry, excuse me. That shit always makes it feel cooler to me when I see something that looks magical.
Now that's the one. If you want another example of it, if
Yeah.
you can't really picture it, and I didn't think about this connection, so I was really doing my research and looking at them. The Marvel magic,
Yep.
Doctor Strange, and all of them when they put on their little
Yeah.
things and those patterns go around. Now I want to freeze the frame and see how accurate their sigils are.
What's funny is
That's
I watched a video about and I don't know how accurate this is, but it seems like the magic system that's represented by sorcery in the MCU might be based on on physics, and I think I might be wrong about this. I think the symbols and things that you see in the arcane spells they make,
right.
there's something about those connects back to like Euclidean geometry and physics.
Well, I think they're going to go back to the perfect numbers, which goes back to the esophageal frequencies and the music tones. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do.
It's all connected.
It's all connected. And you know what else? It goes back to a square state. Close encounters. Do, 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 do,
Yep.
do.
Well, I was going to say the whole thing with, if you want to go back another step about the geometric patterns, geometry is mathematics. And there are a lot of people that think the base language of the universe is mathematics. It's why we have that math engraved on the gold platter that's on the Voyager satellite.
Yeah.
If somebody finds it, we think that's kind of universal. And like you said, and
I'm not going to know how to play a record, though.
why not?
I'm just joking.
You know what though? It's crazy to think that if the world came to an end, if the comet hits us or whatever,
that thing is still going because there's a ghost in our show. I keep telling you, there's a ghost in our show.
That's entirely possible. I'm going to tell you right now, you may not be wrong. So.
And it's whenever I talk about the magic stuff, man.
It's what it is. Well, here's the thing. I think you know what had happened. We started talking about how everything is connected and it all goes back to the same thing.
And then everything shut down on us, man.
Yeah, the government doesn't want you to know. Which I'm going to tell you right now, I love conspiracy theories. I don't want to give anything away in my home game, but we had another mini session inside of the game where they were going over the conspiracy theories about a few things. And I'm just sitting back, trying to hide the smile as they throw out crazy ideas. Maybe right, maybe wrong, who knows. So, thank you for sticking through us through our little technical difficulty there. Just want to remind everybody that if you like what you hear, thanks for joining us. Please like, share, and subscribe. Check out our Patreon. You can support us. You can support the studio and all of our products and shows. We are working on increasing our presence around the internet as well. So, remember, you can check out these videos on YouTube as well as our other shows like Tabletop Cinema Season 1, the upcoming Tabletop Cinema Season 2. Check us out on Facebook and eventually Twitter. Who knows? Maybe someday we'll start showing up on TikTok.
Yeah, and don't forget, look out for Fables of the Forgotten. We do show up on TikTok, man. We got some cool videos.
Yeah, I actually have Doc, I'll bring it up right here. I was talking to producer Josh about this. I think we might start putting together a little side project for the podcast that gets some information out there in a different format for people to enjoy. Not everybody wants to listen to us ramble on for hours on end. So we'll keep you guys informed on that as
Any
things
new
develop.
projects, we'll let you know. Oh, I thought he was going to freeze, but he's sneezing. Good.
Yeah, I had hit mute there before I blew out my microphone. Sorry about that, folks. Well, let me preface our main topics of the show. Hold on.
No, so it's been a big week in role playing. So we got some very big topics, and the one actually came up this week in Facebook, which we've been talking about AI art being used in adventures and in the industry for RPGs.
Yep.
So I really think it's definitely one we want to hit on. Were you just going over the topics, or are we going right in?
No, actually, I was sneezing my brains out.
That's why I figured I just hit the one topic. I know we were going to talk about that.
Well, here's the thing. So I wanted to preface this with a couple of thoughts, so everybody, really quick. There are some topics, good, bad, and ugly. Some are kind of heavy. Obviously, these conversations aren't scripted. We say what we want. Going over our opinions and whatnot. We may agree or disagree. The studio may disagree with this as well. But these are the kind of things in our community that we need to discuss. Now, the ones coming up here, some are kind of heavy. Obviously, concerns about the future of independent studios, the role of AI art.
Yeah,
One of the things you want to talk
in
about.
in RPG, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And also,
The discussion of a DM shortage.
yeah, DM shortage, DM problems.
In the
Yep.
community.
And my favorite topic, bitching about Wizards of the Coast and recent releases where they said things like D&D was under monetized. That
Oh my
shit is
gosh.
hilarious. So, looking at our time here, how about this? Let's hit on the AI art, and then we'll take our little intermission, and we'll hit up the last three when we come back. How's that sound?
Yeah, that sounds good. That
All right,
sounds
fired
good.
up, Doc. You
All right,
you read some stuff. What do you thought? What do you think?
so I guess this really hit me hard. I guess that on Facebook there was Consortium, the company
Chaosium?
Chaosium, excuse me, Chaosium. December 16th, they put out this official ad. Really cool artwork, by the way, with a woman with like a very Art Deco background, with art collage, with like octopus arms with colors and a cityscape and all. Like, yeah, I don't know. Is this even generated art? Who made this art? Anyway, so it says art is important to Chaosium, and our artists deserve a lot of credit for our success over the past several years. We're updating our art contract templates to include provisions that AR art is not to be used, and the work needs to be the productions of human artists who can vouch they have created for their piece, and it does not contain unlicensed derivative use of someone else's work. We are concerned about the ethics of AI art, its impact on the livelihoods of artists, and the ability of artists to maintain control over the use of their creations. And on a more pragmatic level, we also believe there is a significant chance the U.S. courts will, before long, declare AI art violates copyrights of artists, most probably thousands of artists. There is also the possibility that the European Union, or at least a few significant EU members, will pass legislation that effectively prohibits web scraping AI programs that now exist. So, in short, if you are doing AI art for us, don't use AI. The next time you pick up a Chaosium game, you can be confident that all the art there is the product of human artists who is passionate about their games and the world we create, rather than a set of computer algorithms and prompts. Now, this went on, tons of thumbs up, tons of, everybody's like thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. 350 comments, 691 shares, 2,000 likes, and I have two thumbs up. And this is what I said, and this is really how I stand on this. I won't go long, and we can talk about it. I'm going to read what I said because I still stand by this. It's very easy for established publishers to take the high ground on this stance. They already have a business, they have everything in place, they have artists in place, they have pay structure in place. Everything evolves. It'll be interesting to see how case law goes. Also, what do your artists use for models? I mean, usually, I'm going to expand here. I didn't type this, but don't artists usually use some other picture? They're looking at something or they're copying. We talk about as DMs all the time, copying stuff, right? So, and then it says, what about digital artists? I mean, how far are digital artists using technology and textures, not AI or not really art, or does everything have to be by hand? Do artists get paid by Chaosium when images get reused? I mean, like, this is like, well, they already have a bank of images, so they're going to like fold people up then, It says, I understand the point you're making here. I mean, I'm not trying to, go on. But will consumers and editors know the difference in all these cases? And then my last comment is, was really more obtuse and sort of a simile. I don't know about you, but where I live, there are no more toll booth collectors because there's an Easy Pass now. So I mean, doesn't everything evolve? There's my
Is your rant on it?
comment on Facebook, and there's my rant. I mean, I think a mixture is good. What do you think?
All right.
Go.
Well, here's the thing.
If you don't see these, I mean,
let's. I know I'm trying to control myself. Let's be a conscientious debater in this topic because I think you and I disagree. But I want to clarify.
okay.
Are you okay with the idea of publishers using AI art for their products, commercial products?
I think at this point, at first I do feel comfortable with publishers using AI for their products. I do. I mean, seeing how much effort and work goes into it, and how many don't work, or how long it takes to do, or whatever money you're putting out for that, because you are putting something out to get that product. So
All right, but
that's
now
yours to use, right?
now let me ask you though, are you familiar with how the AI art works?
Yes, I am. I am completely familiar with
Okay.
how the AI art works. Yes.
And correct me if I'm wrong. What they refer to as web scraping.
Correct.
It
Web
it
scraping.
go the AI goes out, looks at however many trillions of images it can get or whatever in the time frame, and then
Right.
it uses that and its algorithms to create things
Okay.
that
Okay.
in an artistic fashion, right?
Right. Now, how is that different from a regular artist?
Well,
I mean, when you're in art school and your art teacher says, "Okay, we're gonna do a,"
hold on,
uh,
let me. I'm
I'm
getting
just
there.
wait, just
Go.
wait,
I know
because
you're waiting to attack.
no, I'm not waiting to attack. I'm just saying that, when I was an art student, you have 50 paintings or things pinned up on the wall because you're looking at this still life that you have to
Well,
do. So you're looking at different still lives to incorporate your piece.
well,
So
here's
isn't that's mental scraping, right?
right. Well, here's the
Okay.
thing. So I get what you're saying. Obviously, artists are inspired by the things they see. They translate that into a piece of art, right?
Okay, now I'll go back to you. Go ahead.
Yeah. No. So that I get that. So that's so so what you're saying essentially is that the process seems the same. The AI system looks at things for inspiration, and then it produces something.
Correct.
Okay. On its face, same thing. I have no problem, and I like the AI art in the space of non-commercial products because I can tell you as a long-time person running games, I'd like to have a high production value. I can't draw a straight line, much less a magic item picture or a
Right,
character
right, yeah,
portrait.
exactly.
And I have in my home games, not for publication, have long been a web sourcer of images and whatnot to, for visual aids. I composite images together to make battle maps for my virtual tabletop and so on and so forth. So it definitely has a place. It's great. I like it. But I get hinky when it comes to that replacing artists because,
Well,
and let me explain why
no,
real quick.
I totally see what you're saying. Keep going. I'm gonna let you
No,
finish.
but no,
Yeah.
I get where I get weird about it is the idea that it's going to take the work of people who can do things that AI can't do. As far as like there is a human element to it, but and that you may potentially just replace all of them because the robot can do it cheaper, not better, but cheaper. And I don't like things that go after elements of the community. It just feels wrong. It's one of my primary gripes with Wizards of the Coast putting out all these secret layer art drops, special products. There was a whole industry that had grown up, and I have friends that made money from it. Of
I was
people
gonna say,
doing.
I was gonna say, how do they make any of their art? All of their art is computer generated art. They are overlaying this PNG over that PNG over that PNG, which is just as close to scraping.
But
And
it's a person, but it's a person doing the work and compositing it. And I can tell you, as a,
how do you know?
it,
You're saying that you hate Wizards of the Coast. How can you
I
say
do.
you know they're not using AI art?
Oh no, I'm not saying they're not. What I'm saying is
The-
once you open the floodgates to this, and then you destroy the artists that have grown, that have, them having a livelihood. And then here's, okay, so, and it
I
bothers
don't
me.
know. I don't think that's true. I think the thing is, it all has to do with commitment. Because an artist has to commit. And I think what we have is we have a lot of artists that don't want to commit. They want to try to do commissions and do a commission here and do a commission there and do a commission there and do a commission. That's not art. I mean, you've got to commit yourself to that task and be in it 3 gabillion%. And I know artists are probably pissed as hell at me right now. Who the hell does he think he's talking about? But I think that's part of it. Just like this Kickstarter right now. If you're an artist with Dungeon Studios, you should be calling our CEO right now and going, "Hey, we hit level. How many more pictures do you need done? Where are they?" I mean, that's part of the business too. Now digital art, those people are clicking, and you go to those Discord sites, and there are tens of thousands of people there competing for who's going to have the best work that day. They're running contests. It's hot. The thing is huge. So no matter what the business thinks, it's not going away. And I don't think we're going to be able to delineate in the future what AI is and what AI isn't. Now, think about it this way. You're driving on the highway. How do you know that Tesla next to you isn't? Are you going to get off the road because the Tesla next to you is being driven by an AI? Is that what you're going to do?
I don't like destroying the artist because because the computer can do it
then what
itself.
happened to the toll booth collector?
Okay, well here's what happened. Okay, but here's what happened. So are you so okay? Let me.
We destroyed this whole. I hated when we destroyed the toll booth collectors.
I feel bad. I feel bad they lost their jobs.
Well, then
I get it.
We're saying the same thing. I mean, people have to adapt and move on. I think artists should be learning how to use AI with their art.
First of all, is it really their art at that point?
Yeah, absolutely it is. Wait a minute. Andy Warhol. Uh-huh. He actually, he did a lot of his own art. I'm not putting down any of his work. That guy drew shoes. He drew some great illustrations for New York City magazines, printed by the billions. Everybody wanted his illustrations. I get that. But he didn't become a recognized bona fide artist till he made screen prints of soup cans. Now you can go into is that art? Is that art? Art is, and I think this becomes the other problem, is role-playing games don't want art. They want visual representations. Think of S1, Tomb of Horrors. All you needed were the black and white drawings. And that's all you still need.
Well, let me put this around to you to a different way. So we've written content for the studio, right? That's our goal.
Right, right.
I want to do that. So when the AI bot comes around that can write the adventure, and it's indistinguishable from you, are you going to be like, well, I had a good run, no reason to write anymore?
You know what? Here's the thing. No, I don't. I actually think that, I have my own style, and my style is going to be.
No, but the AI is going to copy your style.
No, it's not.
And it's going to be a better Dr.Pletorius than you are. That's where they're going towards.
No, you see now that's where I think this is where humans have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of human beings see computers as superior. I don't see AI art as superior.
No,
art.
computers are dumb. They're only as smart as what you put into it.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. AI art is only as good as the person who's writing that prompt or setting it up. And even, I use AI art, but when I use AI art, I'm going in and I'm editing it. I'm digitally working on it. I'm recoloring it. At that point, it is my art. If I have to generate an image for my campaign, like you're talking about, it really helps my players visualize something. I visualize the background separately from the foreground separately, and then I separate them myself, the PNGs, and then I layer them in. At that point, it is my art. I am using that generator as a tool of independent parts of what I'm making. Now, I get the scraping thing because there have been, and I'm really on this. I'm not on either. I'm talking to both sides here. There have been copyright watermarks found in scrapings, which I do think is a big deal. Okay. But this is also the problem with the internet in itself. Things are out there and people are stealing left and right. Images are stolen and copyrighted, and copyrighted images are pirated and sent out there. So you kind of knew when you joined Facebook, everything you put out there was yours, right? That you gave up everything you posted.
Didn't know that at first. They didn't make that very clear for obvious reasons.
Exactly. Well, yeah, but you kind of know that now. So now that's another thing that an artist has to think about when an artist even going to share their work. What they've actually created is a more elite, real artist, because he's not even going to want to share his work. This is like musicians when Napster hit. What the fuck were they going to do when they didn't have record sales anymore? Well, they're going to drive their ticket prices up, right? I mean, there's going to be a response. But I on both sides of the fence, I personally didn't want to use AI art in my adventures. I'd rather have real art and real artists and a style for everything. I mean, that's what made the first books the books they are. First edition advanced books were the team of 5 or 6 artists that drew everything for those books. And I'm sure those guys didn't make a lot of money in those days. And now all that stuff is considered classic, right?
Well, I guess I'll leave you with this closing thought as we it's getting towards break time and I'm getting salty about this, but it feels wrong to me because there's a level in which that you have to accept that the technology is inevitable. And I'm sure people who don't have to pick, go out and pick, harvest crops by hand with a scythe are pretty happy that they came up with a combiner. I get it. But my concern with this is that is that a tool that can be used to destroy people with skills and replace them for profit's sake just leads to a shittier world of art, and I'm going to give you the example of why.
You're talking about capitalism, and you're worried about art. Meanwhile, we're doing this everywhere else in industry. Let's worry about everywhere else.
Let me finish. So here's the thing. With the music thing, obviously there's I found a new way for artists to survive and whatnot. I get it. There's always going to be things that are eliminated based on the march of technology.
The drum machine. Sorry.
But here's the thing. Do you think the quality of music produced now through auto-tune and AI systems and the bullshit that pumps out pop music has made music better than when you had to have actual musicians who could actually write music and actually play music? That was who made the music.
No, what it actually does is it'll create its own genre. Think about it. If one company right now digs in and says, I'm doing all AI art, and they get in with an AI art company, and that AI art company does a partnership with them, their art is going to accelerate because that AI's. And here's the other one is I also see, and this is the honest truth. I don't think it's going to be able to be used commercially much longer. That's the other side of this. I think case law soon is going to lock it out from being used commercially, is really where we're going to end up. So I say use it while you got it.
Fair enough. Like I said, I like it for, I'm not against technology. I just, like I said, you've seen the decline of so many other things, and it's,
well, we're gonna cross back into this use of technology issue when we come back from the break and we talk about our other topics. So
absolutely, but I guess the takeaways are you hate artists and I want to save them because you're a horrible person. So.
No, I totally.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding mostly, as far as you know. No, it's just it's a weird place. Technology makes things weird. That's all there is to it. And I don't know where it goes, but I just know that AI art couldn't exist if there weren't artists for it to steal from. So.
Well, and that's it too. I mean, there's got to be more art to be produced, or we just end up, AR gray screen, in a few years, because it's just going to smear everything together and be brown.
Yeah, maybe. So, anyways, everybody, thanks for listening to us so far. We're going to take a little bit of an intermission here. A couple of things before we head out. I have a quick story to share. And I completely screwed up and clicked the wrong button on Streamlabs, so there's a quick flash of the intermission. I just want to preface this and apologize ahead of time. I had to put it together. It probably sucks, but let me tell you a quick story. I had an experience. I got to go caving when I was younger. And the experience that I'm going to share with you has changed how I design and write certain portions of my game. So I got invited with a bunch of friends to head out to a series of caves in Albany, New York. We show up, everyone's camping, having a great time, we're hanging out. And they show me the front of the cave. It's this little box, is kind of a seat. So picture a narrow space in the rock. You had to slide your feet in under one rock shelf and sit down and then scoot yourself forward and kind of go at a weird angle just to squeeze into this cave, right? Once you're inside this massive underground chamber, and it's everything a D&D nerd would love. I look around and, it's dark and you have the lights and you can hear the sounds and the skylight above. And it was just such a cool feeling, right? So we go and we do all manner of exploring, and I am loving this. I'm just in my head imagining the entire time. I'm wearing, what if I was wearing, chainmail and I got the boots on, and I don't know what's around the corner. There could be monsters, we waded through, like waist deep pools in these very narrow hallways to get to the star chamber, a big, underground, like mini lake, where there's caves underneath people had gone into and never came out of again. And if you were here at a certain time of night, you could see the moonlight through this tiny shaft. Awesome ambiance, right? Great. And I had forgot in my enjoyment of this experience that I am not a small person. And cave exploring is a small man's game.
Oh, it sure is, buddy. It sure is. So
I'm getting ready to head out, and somebody goes, "Hey, we're going to go check out this other chamber." But it's a long kind of climb. Do you want to try to go? I go, yeah, of course. This is awesome. I'm having a great time. I definitely want to go. So they goes, all right. Well, yeah, you got to take the you take the shelf into the chute, and then you wedge climb up 10 or 15 feet until you reach the first chamber, and then from there it's just basically you walk like a half a mile underground. So no big deal, right? I go, yeah, no big deal at all. This is going to be great. So I walk over there. We get to the shelf, and it is exactly as you would imagine. A long, flat shelf of rock, probably 30 feet wide and about 100 feet deep. And the reason it's called the shelf is that there's only about 12 or 14 inches in some places between the rock above it and the actual rock you slide across. So, you sure you want to go? I'm like, yeah, totally. So I get in there. I start to wiggle my way forward, and I'm inching along step by step. The shelf gets narrower and narrower, and then all of a sudden I push my feet against the rock and I stop going forward. And I'll tell you what happened when we get back after the break. So, thank you for hanging out with us. Like, share, and subscribe. We'll be back. I believe the intermission is, I think I cut together an 8-minute video. I apologize. It's not going to be as awesome as you're used to. But enjoy it. It might loop twice. But we'll try to be back by 11:50 Eastern time. So 10 minutes, Doc. Sound good? All right. Everyone, please enjoy. And thank you for hanging out with us.
the way your mind is played right there before me. I'm an aberration creeping in the underdark, just lurking. I share everything with Elder Brain. We speak with telepathy, lawful evil. Eat your brain, I drop your HP down to nothing.
Show me what's inside your mind, behind that pretty face. I can't dominate monsters, but they take once a day.
And you can lead your buddies to me, make them wish they fled. I'm in their heads inciting dread, and now they're wondering.
My bank account busting, never have enough. All of my friends judging. This one's oversized, this one hurts the most. Managing my heart, are you taking notes? Just one set and you're well on your way. You think that you're done, but you can't disobey. The voices in your head, it's a lethal dose. Click, clack, you're a dragon, you've been diagnosed. Hey, you beautiful showcase. I need a set for every race. To myself, fudge a couple numbers so the body don't run out of health. One brings the perfect TPK, watch him bleed. It's a lot of power to wield. Ooh, gotta balance these conflicts. How other players gonna handle taking licks now? Not to end their fun till the game is done. Ooh, it's a pleasure to inflict. Ow, get up big and watch the players start to trip out. When they feel they've won, hit them with a stun.
All right, we are back. Thank you for hanging out with us through the
Hey,
break.
everybody.
Doc, you back with me? Awesome.
Yeah, I'm back. I just want to say, you got to finish your story. Go ahead, finish your story.
Oh well, no, I had the same thing. I just want to point out, I would never intentionally be mean or take shots at you. I think I said was in jest.
No, it wasn't that at all. No, the thing I was thinking about is this is beyond just role playing. Art itself is evolving. When you talk about, the Mona Lisa evolving art during the Renaissance period, and art evolves over time. AI will in fact evolve human art. And I'll end it at that. I want to hear the conclusion of this.
Okay.
You're out on the shelf.
Yeah, and I can go on about the March
We don't
technology
need to
forever.
go on about that.
I
We'll
won't.
touch back to it.
But all right. Well, with that being said, so here I am, my less than slender self, firmly stuck now between two pieces of rock, one below me connected to the earth, and one above me. That if it's shifted down even a few centimeters, would be the end of my existence. So here I am, sweating, stuck between this bit of rock. I can feel it in my front. I can feel it on my back. I go to move forward, and I can't move. I try. The attempts get more frantic. The breaths get more rapid. I begin to try to yell out, but I don't know that anyone can hear me. People who were ahead of me are slenderer, much faster, and all I can see is the little bit of light about 100, maybe 80 feet ahead from the headlamps, getting dimmer and dimmer. I can hear echoey voices, and I can see feet going up the little climb. They have no idea that I'm stuck. There's nobody behind me because everybody else left to go get lunch. Right? Climb out of the cave. And I'm trying, and I can't go forward, and you can't change positions. You can't lift your shoulders. You can't, your arms, my arms were ahead of me. I could kind of go around to the side, touch my hip, but I couldn't get a hand under me, above me. I didn't know why I was stuck. And, I never thought to push myself backwards. I just sweat dripping onto the rocks. I start to, no, you're good. And I panic. I start yelling, and I'm breathing heavy. And I don't know how long it was until I see the first light, shine down in the seat ahead of me. And my buddy drops down. He goes, "Hey, you coming?" I'm like, I'm stuck. And I had to wait for him to get the leader back down, plus our other buddies. And then one of them crawl back to me, who was smaller, try to help me push forward, pull me forward, push me back. Couldn't do it. Finally, he kind of got alongside of me and realized that, of course, there was some little bit of rock hanging down like a little hook that had gotten between my pants and my belt.
Oh, locked you in.
And locked me in. And all the flailing around I did was just further kind of get me up on this little piece of rock.
And he kind of he saw it.
Oh, they had to cut my belt loop to be able to get the belt free enough to force out of the way. And now, mind you, I'm there stuck for minutes while they're working on this to get the belt forced back enough, because I couldn't reach under my body to unbuckle it, so that I can move again. And then slowly, inch by inch, I had to back off the shelf into the main chamber. My arms were scraped up. I was covered in sweat and dirt. And then I had to climb myself out of there. So humorous end of the story. One of our buddies took a picture of me coming out of the little chair entrance you had to squeeze through. And that made it onto their album cover called Emergence. So it's this kind of grainy photo of my giant ass dragging myself out of this tiny hole in the earth. But lifelong impacts.
A traumatic experience and an album cover.
Oh yeah, I'm not claustrophobic per se, but I have had moments. I had to get an MRI done. I tore both my arms eventually, bicep tendon. So I had to have an MRI. And the first time doing it, they put the headphones on you. You feel very isolated, and they lift you up on a tray and they slide you into this very narrow gap between the
Oh, I've been in a
magnets.
lot of those machines. Yeah, I know. They're
Yeah.
buddies.
And when she started, the first time I did it, they slid me in my expanded midsection, much thicker than I was when I was in my 20s. Like I hit my stomach hit the top magnet, and I started cry, freaked out. I was like crying. I'm like, I gotta get out of here, and I never expected that. But my point of this story and a good day one DM tip, but just a good life tip in general, is you need to go out and experience shit in the real world, because the way I've been able to write and describe those kind of scenarios, that feeling, the panic, the whole environment around that, I would never have been able to do it justice if it hadn't happened to me. And I'm not saying go get stuck in a cave, please don't. But you have to have those experiences. When I wrote a book, which is terrible. I've never revised it because I hate doing it. But one of the feedbacks, the best feedback I got was when there were a couple of scenes that were, brawls, a bar fight, and then there's a conflict later in the book. And the guy said, he goes, I could tell that you have had these kind of experiences, because when I read it, it comes through the details, that the little things you have, where you're standing, how you move, how they move, how things are. The way you describe the scene is from somebody who's had the experience. And I can't say this enough. Get out, experience things, go for a walk in nature. Touch a tree, smell the cold air.
That gives me an idea.
What?
Maybe next week I can tell the shark rodeo story. I've been in a shark rodeo. That would be a great story.
That is okay. So story time next week is by Doc.
Next week I'll tell the shark rodeo story.
Shark rodeo.
Yeah, shark rodeo.
So like I said, experience stuff. It will help you in your games, both as a player and a DM, because until you've had emotions, you can't accurately reflect them. And there are things with that kind of stuff. We talked last week about horror in games and how do you get it to happen. I'll tell you this. Players who've experienced actual fear like that in their lives can relate to that as a character and play that out better.
Yeah, that's definitely something. If you don't have players that have life experiences, very difficult to really get those complicated things across to them. It's very tricky.
And I can tell you, having a teenage child to deal with, they don't know anything, but they think they do.
That's true.
It's so frustrating, because you're like, I have been through this. Listen to me, and they just won't. So hey, with that being said, let's move on. In the show, get on to the second half of our topic. But before we do, again, the obligatory reminder: please, thank you for joining us. If you like what you hear, like, share, and subscribe. Send it out to your friends. Check out the Patreon. You can support our Kickstarter, support the studio, support us at the show. Check us out on social media. Join us on Discord, and you can help. One of the things that I was going to say is, your experience is valuable no matter where you are on the spectrum. We've talked about this. If you are a consumer, your feedback is critical to us, because you're the ones that are going to be taking in this product. You're the reason your DM is going to buy our Kickstarter or our adventures or our setting, because they want to provide it for you. So your feedback is very important. And then if you are a creator, join us, and you get to partake in the creation of something. And I can tell you from experience, doing shared world building with my players and friends and people I talk to, very small things can turn into really big ideas. I was talking to a guy about a character concept because he might join a game. We're having a conversation, and he just happened to mention, do you have lycanthropes in your game? Excuse me. And I go, well, no. I go, not really. He goes, well, yeah, I think they're cool. You should think about that. Maybe do it differently, though. Maybe have it not just be the normal moon stuff. And I'm like, that little sentence and a half from somebody, hey, wouldn't it be cool if it was different? Led me right into how I have the lycanthropes in my game right now. So
always,
even that little
tweak always spices up your game. Always.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
We were talking about glyphs. How about all your potions have glyphs, and your players have to decode your potion glyphs? just talking about another real world idea. Sorry, that made me think of that.
Or another one from my Shadowrun game. I have a whole list of coded language.
Oh yeah, if you think of that for Shadowrun,
Yeah. So the employer is looking for someone to do some work. A bit of light cleaning may be involved. There will be access to the water, although they'd prefer you not throw a pool party. However, if you do need, grandma can babysit, which translates to I might, I got a job. There might be some blood. I don't want it to be a bloodbath, but if you need to take a body out, the cleaners can come pick up the mess, kind of thing.
Right.
But have you ever seen the hobo glyphs? Have you ever seen these from the real world?
The hoboglyphs?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm probably going to see it and say I know what you're talking about.
I'm not even joking. So there are apparently a series of symbols that are used by transients, vagrants, and hobos.
Oh yes, I have heard about hoboglyphs. Yes.
That's another great thing to work into your game as well, because you can have messages like thieves can't.
Well,
could be coded in glyphs.
That makes me think of the quilts, the Underground Railroad quilts.
Yeah.
And they would put the quilts out for signals and different which way to go, which directions to turn.
Yeah. And let me tell you something, guys. You take something like this that's a detailed but unknown part of history, you work it into your game somehow. When your players figure that shit out, like the smiles and like, I figured it out. That bit of joy. It's one of those things. It's a topic we're going to probably discuss down the road, is challenging players versus challenging characters, and when to do that. When is it fun? What kind of groups enjoy that stuff, and the different rewards you get. Oh, now back to the heavy stuff. Reasons I hate Wizards of the Coast and the state of D&D. What do you want to do first, Doc? Do you want to do the DM problem, or do you want to
Let's do the DM problem first, because that one's interesting. There was Professor Dungeon Master. This is where I got on the trail, was Professor Dungeon Master did a video about it. And then that backtracked me to, I said the name wrong before.
It's Questing Beast.
Questing Beast.
Yep.
And then that led me back to the actual source article, which is funny. I had actually already read this article before the backlash of it had come out, because, I'm always reading all this garbage all the time. So it's by Henry Solotoff Weber, who's a Brooklyn-based journalist focused on the intersection of culture and politics, writing for a online thing called Hell's Gate.
It's a good name for a magazine.
Right? Great name for a magazine.
I approve.
And then the article itself is New York City has a serious dungeon master shortage. And then they basically go on to talk about, and I'm not going to mention names. I've reached out to some of these people to come be on the game themselves. But there's basically a company in Manhattan that gets promoted right away. This sort of turns into an Aurora Boreas, if you know what I'm saying.
Right.
And then that company kind of gets plugged. And then talking about how many people have interacted with, everyone talks about the pandemic and how many people interacted with Dungeons and Dragons.
Right.
And, that was the plan. And then, of course, that the LGBTQ community has a shortage of tabletop community themselves. There's just a shortage of tabletop community.
Now, see, I find that to be weird, because in my experience, reaching out and connecting with modern gamers and whatnot, that is really a large portion of who you see.
Well, let me finish.
Okay.
So then they go into this is something else, because this is where I think the article, we have to jump here, because they go into this is a game of a collaborative story of pre-written material, blah 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 blah. Now remember, there was an article. There's someone quoted Matt Colville this week about, and Matt Colville talking about, God damn it, Dungeons and Dragons was a war game, not this fun game, not this group storytelling is kind of a lie. in a way thing. So talking about that, and I don't want to put the LGBT community down, there's something about role playing and cosplaying that kind of cross the lines, if you know what I mean. Now,
Right.
I have often found that LGBTQ players are the first ones that are offended by things going on in the game. So don't say there's a shortage if you've already dropped yourself out of 3 games because you've been offended every game you've been in. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, that's something I want to investigate before you
Okay.
say there's an LGBTQ shortage of role players. Let's say that first. Let me
Okay.
investigate
Well, yeah,
that.
no, that's what I was saying. Like well,
Let me keep going. So there's the one company in New York, and the company from New York talks about how hard it is being a DM. And we've discussed this all the time, getting everything ready and prepared and how much work it is. And both the Professor Dungeon Master and the other guy talk about that, where they both try to push, smaller rule systems,
right.
saying, smaller rule systems work better, which kind of crosses into our next topic, talking about, the
Yeah, so
open
yeah.
game license and all
Well,
that stuff. Now, let me finish.
yeah.
Then they go into a one person who is a DM, and of course, that person DMs where? At this place in Manhattan.
Yeah.
So now you got the writer in Manhattan, you got the place in Manhattan, you got this person. So then you go into that person, and they talk about another professional DM. I'm not going to mention her name because I also contacted her if she wants to reach out to us and talk to us. Who runs, guess what? A Discord, a website for guess what they do?
Game.
Hiring DMs and
Oh.
placing them places. So I mean, here's an article that says there's a DM shortage, and at the end of the article is an agent who
Is an ad for
it's
being a
an
DM.
ad. It's an ad for gaming. I mean, it's for this person to sign a pickup. So then, okay, now that I dig into the author, right?
Yeah.
I dig into the author. He's a DM. So he's probably DMing at this place too, right? Hex Company, where I said this is Aurora Bora. He's written the article for which more power to them. That's why I want them on the game. Come on. We'll talk to all of you.
So wait, so do you think that the whole article is just a shameless attempt to get more people to come work for them, or to drive up the price because they're creating a false shortage?
It could be both. It could be both.
Okay.
It could. I think they're just trying to drum up business, because they also have, when you go to the place, I don't want to mention their name again because they can come here and promote whatever they want. They're trying to run the homeschool kids during the day,
Right.
and the nightclub crew at the night. So that's a tough switch to pull off, and
Right.
that's a lot of DMs. And then think about it. Besides DMs, you got bartenders, you got people doing service. It's a big business. That's why I'd love to talk to one of these people about how something like that works. I mean, I've been in all those businesses in my lifetime, so come on, talk to us.
Yeah.
But that's
Well, I will say, so as far as the idea of false shortage goes, people that want to scoff at that, I heard recently, like, I'm sure everyone's aware food prices are going up, and you hear from the Walmart side they're claiming how there's an egg shortage or chicken issues or whatever, but then I've heard from other sources that there's not a shortage of product. There's just a refusal to buy them, at the normal prices by the big buyers like Walmart. And so because when there was shortages, the prices went up, and now they don't want to let those prices go back down because they can make more money on it. And they're manufacturing an artificial shortage. They're blaming on the suppliers. Oh, hang on, did I disconnect again? Jesus. That's what it is. It's conspiracies. Every time I bring them up, every time I bring up a conspiracy theory, it freaks out. Every time. Every time. Every time. I'm assuming I'm back on the internet. It says I'm live on the stream. I see my microphone moving. I don't see the Facebook thing. That's going to take a few seconds to catch up. Please reconnect to the stream, Doc, if you can hear me. I'm going to reconnect to the Discord. Oh, boy. Sorry, folks. I don't know what is going on today. Do 1 second, everybody. 1 second more. Hopefully we're going to be good. Can you guys hear me on the interwebs? All right, can you hear me in Discord now? Okay, can you reconnect to the stream, please? Because that's the fix. You got to... There we go.
I knew what we got to do. I was just waiting for you. All right, I'm going to lock out.
All right, can you hear me?
Yep, we're good.
I can hear you. Wonderful. Sorry about that, everybody. As pointed out in the chat, apparently, whenever I talk about conspiracy theories, government shuts me down. I'm just going to say that's happened twice in a row now. Maybe it's not. Maybe this is not a coincidence.
Somebody is listening to us.
God, I can't. I don't like I say. Here's the thing. So to explain my issue, like I said,
no. Let's take this back to role playing, because this is where I feel like the whole thing is crossing over. This whole creativity thing going on too, and what we're talking about with AI and people losing their jobs.
Yeah.
This whole thing is a big crisscross. It's very disturbing to me.
Well, so let me. So here's the thing. So I wanted to come at this from a slightly different angle than you were hitting it up. So the primary complaints that I got from those videos were that the game is too complicated to run, and there is such an expectation on the DM, either from players having unrealistic expectations, from shows like Critical Role, which there's related videos called the Mercer.
Right. They do talk about that.
Yeah, the Matt Mercer effect and whatnot.
Right.
And that's the problem is you have to know all these rules and you got to be on top of everything. Not a single one of those videos I listened to hit on the things that I think are the issues, why there's a DM shortage, and I've been one forever. And maybe
go ahead. I just don't want to forget what I'm saying, so keep going. I'm making notes here.
No, so maybe I'm a little bit different than you were as a DM. I didn't start DMing because I had to. We got into it. My buddy's older brother ran the games to start, and he's the Eddie Munson type, to reference Stranger Things. And other people were willing to do it. I didn't have to, but I got into it because I wanted a better quality story. I wanted a game experience that fit what I enjoyed about the game. And that's why I took over doing it originally, and I stuck with it because I enjoy being a DM. I enjoy being a storyteller. So maybe my path is a little bit different than everybody else's, but those are the things that I noticed with it. Like I said, I want to counteract their points about.
I think this thing about the DM shortage.
Yeah.
I think this goes along with what's going on with nerd immersion and the hashtag open D&D and the open license and going into one D&D. These things all sort of cross into each other because you were talking about the monetization, right?
Yep.
20% are DMs. 20% of the people are DMs. DMs generate the game. So really saying there's a DM shortage, they need us to be there for the game.
Right. We buy the books.
We buy the books. We are the market. And then they talk about their 4 tiers. That's why they're getting away with marketing Yahtzee with owl bears on the dice.
Yeah.
Because that sells to a completely different. We are a very, very small portion of who's buying the product. And the same thing with the creators. Again, back to the hashtag open one D&D, the independent creators, we are like 2% of the market.
Yeah. Actually,
And
I think one, right?
They're one. I'm saying too, just to be nice, they are squashing us in one pillar of their entire megastructure. So it just, to say there's a DM shortage is to me is saying, well, if we can get people to think there's a DM shortage, we can get more people buying. So it's just about buying.
Well,
It's just about buying.
You think so? Economically?
Yeah, I really do, because you're a master of the game. It goes along with the millennials. Everybody's going to want to be a DM. Well, I can DM. I can DM. Like, it's going to be the new Renaissance thing. Well, I'm a great DM. I mean, these people, I need to see all the movies from the 80s. Why are we great DMs? Because we've already seen all the great movies from the 80s.
Well, we certainly have a context to it. That's
what I'm saying. We have like this breadth, you know. And then there's the other one. We were talking about professional DMs and putting in all this effort with Roll20 and all this shit. Well, they're going to shut all that down if they don't decide not to go into these.
I think you're running headlong into the second half of what we're talking about with this.
But I think they crisscross. That's why.
There's a bit of an intersection.
You asked me if they created this themselves in New York.
Yeah.
Or is this the buzz now to help generate business?
I think it's a lot of things. So I want to go back. I want to hit a lot of points here. I want to start with what you said, talking about the Alphabet Mafia. So, which is literally that's my favorite term for them. God, I love that so much. I can't, every time I hear that I chuckle. So I don't know if that's a pejorative or not. If it is, I'm not going to.
You should get credit for that one, man.
No, I stole it. I heard that a long time ago. So if that's so, here's the thing. So I'm not going to apologize for the language because it eloquently describes what we're talking about. But my intention is not to make anybody feel bad. So please don't think about that if you're listening. Anyways, with what you're saying about that, so excuse me, I do think that there is an artificial problem created in a lot of communities. It's actually. One second.
Oh, you're choking because I mean, there's no DM shortage if there's 35 Discords I'm on and I can find a game on every one.
So hang on though. Let me get through my point. So I do think that there is an artificially created problem in a lot of communities, and here's the thing. Here's what it is. There's a meme about this that perfectly describes the problem, right? And it relates to cancel culture and the way the society is working. And it's this. It shows, and you can pick your source: Hollywood, Wizards of the Coast, book writers, whatever you want to say, whatever you want to pick. And they come out and go, "Here's this new thing we have for you." And there's two groups. There's the fan base, and then there's the activists, for lack of a better term. And they go, well, we want to like your thing, but there's problems with it. So change all the things. So the company changes all the things, and then they put out a product the fans don't like, and they're like, well, I don't like that, so I'm not going to interact with it anymore. And then the company goes, oh, okay. Then they turn to the activist and go, well, here's the thing you wanted with all the changes you wanted. And they go, well, I was never really interested in that anyways, right? And I think it's a self-created problem, and the reason why that meme applies to it is, like you said, people join the game, they have complaints about it, the table's not for them, the game's not for them, they find something to be offended by, they want it to change, whatever, and what they do is they create a scenario where it's not exactly what they want, so they're not going to interact with it.
Yeah.
And they drive other people away who did like what the game was offering. and then
it becomes like a snowball effect.
So you get it.
You need a hot drink or something, dude.
I just finished mine, man. Sorry. No. So what happens is you take somebody who was going to be a DM, who put together a game because they wanted to do it, they were willing to do it, they were looking forward to doing it. And then somebody forces them away from what they wanted to do, so they're not enjoying it. They drive other players away because the players can't enjoy it because because of this one player that everyone's trying to cater to, and then eventually the player just leaves the whole thing, or the DM has to leave because he just doesn't want to deal with it. So Yeah, so you can create that problem. Or conversely, DMs are showing up.
And now, I think the other thing, I think the other thing with the LBGT community too is, I think that is more of they want to play a more go around and meet the unicorns kind of campaign, and not play that old style war game where the timer's clicking and it's horror based.
Well, I think in the interest of fairness, I don't know that is necessarily an Alphabet Mafia thing. I think that's modern gamers in general. We talked about this.
Right. That's what I'm saying, and I think that's also making the game slide in different directions too. That's what I'm saying.
Well, again, it's like this. So I use a sports analogy. So the NFL and even Major League Baseball, they keep changing rules in the game so that it's not recognizable to old school fans.
Right.
And a lot of those people are like, I'm done with this shit. And eventually there's a straw that breaks everybody. If you know anybody this old, they're like, I remember when they played football in the single wing and you couldn't throw a forward pass. I'm not watching this game. Okay. And then they left. And then you got people, when all the rules changed to protect quarterbacks and you can't play defense anymore. People stop watching the game.
It's not going to be leather. I'm out of here.
Right. And then in the modern age, you get, the NFL has gone in hook, line, and sinker for social justice, and that bothered a lot of people.
All right, stop. You're gonna make another computer glitch.
I know, right?
What's your other
point? To finish this point, so the community is turning off people that would run games because of the headaches and whatnot, and there is definitely a disconnect between gamers. And here's the thing: most DMs are not brand new people. They're people that have played for a little while, and then they get into it and they run games for whatever reason. And I think that people are creating the problem by driving people away from it. That's thing one. My disagreements with the article, though, in the comments, is the idea that the game is too complicated. Let me tell you something. If you've played 3rd edition, 2nd edition, first edition.
I don't know. The article does not say that.
No, the video does, though.
The video does, though, and that's what I'm saying. The video kind of portrays that more.
Well, that's my thing but that's like you said. I don't know if they made that point about the game being more complicated to sell their rule system.
To sell their rule system, yes.
Which is probably a little bit. There's probably a little bit involved in it, absolutely.
Yeah,
but
that's good on them too. Right?
But this is the thing: the system is.
And if he wants to come on and talk to us, we'll talk to him too.
Yeah, but the 5e is not complicated because here's the thing. And again, day one DM tip for you. You don't need to know all the rules. Yes, you will need to read what a character can do, but you don't have to have that shit memorized.
Well, and you see, this leads us into that next topic again, because they talk about the fan base and in those videos too, they talk about fans just being plug and play players makes TSR and their game, they can pick up and run, and that's part of the problem here.
Wait, what do you mean pick up and wait? Explain that.
Look, if you have a whole bunch of people playing 5e right now,
right,
and they've just learned how to play in the first couple of months, and let's say 5e, let's say they have a new version comes out, and the whole thing is not compatible, right? And then you say, we're going to still play 5e, and then Beyond says, well, we're not going to run Beyond anymore. Are your players really going to do all the math? And
it's not that much math. It's not that complicated.
No. When I read the articles, though, dude, they are counting on people not being math people, and that's what's broken the game. That's what's opened the game wide open in the first place.
Yeah, no, but here's the thing about you, like the point you made about the point some of the videos have made about it's got a war games roots and this storytelling game. It's not what it is. Fair enough. Mechanically, 90% of the game is for combat. I get that, but here's the thing: you don't need all that shit. There are plenty of groups that are fine not having that. And again, the DM doesn't have to know all that shit.
The Gygax quote where you don't need any rules at all. I mean, it goes right back to that. Yeah. Now, let's talk
Wait,
again about.
hold on
Go
a
ahead,
second.
go ahead.
I know you want to get to the money thing of it. I get it.
No. There's so many things
No,
to talk about.
but as far as it being difficult, I don't think it's a matter of it being too difficult. That's a misconception.
Yeah,
I think what I think it really is not that the rules are too complicated. Or there's too much to know. I think I think that there's an amount of work to put in to run the game, and what the problem is nobody wants homework. I told you the story right in the beginning about my player who asked me if I had an audiobook version of the background of the lore document, right?
Right.
Well, here's the thing. He's again nice kid, so if he ever hears this, I'm not shitting on you, but he's showing up to play the game for his own reasons in maybe the social setting, maybe he likes something he likes, right?
Right.
But when confronted with, hey, look, man, like I run a lore heavy game and I want to get you worked into it. Here's 5 pages. It was 5 pages of stuff. He's like, I don't have time for that shit. I'm not doing homework to play the game, kind of thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that yeah.
Right. So I have a player who's just got who I'm giving it to so he can be involved in it, and was like, oh, I'll get through it like it's a fucking chore, right? And I don't want him to feel that way, first of all. But that's the kind of game that I run. So maybe I'm not the right person or I'm not the right table for him to be at long term, which is perfectly fine. Because I run a game that's not what he's looking for.
That's exactly how it works. You've got to find the right DM.
Right.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. So you flip that around though, and you say, okay, so you have DMs that can't find that people that would run games that can't find players that want to do it the same way, and they're not willing to go track down people who want to play the way they want to play. So I think the social part of it has always been a problem, where you only have so many nerds around you. Now the internet has changed that a little bit, but like we have a problem with the play testers. I see 175 million posts a day about looking for a game, want to play, need a game. We have one to offer you, and people are like, well, I don't want to play the first time. I'm not sure about it. There's all these social hangups for people. And I think for DMs,
this is not a long running campaign. I don't think I want to play.
Right. So for DMs, I think the same shit applies. I don't want to deal with shitty players. I don't want to put the work in to not get the amount of enjoyment out of it. I want to run my kind of game, and I can't find people who want to play it. I think that's more the problem. Is that to DM, it does involve some work, and you now become the one that's got to deal with the headaches. Because if you get a player who doesn't want to play the style of game you're in, you gotta kick them out. You gotta deal with that. So there is some work. And
I think that's the other important social dynamic that people don't take into account when you're a DM. When you're hanging out with your friends, it's one thing, but when you're dealing with a group of strangers and you're trying to coordinate them all together, you're like a team leader. I mean, at work, you're in a job, you're a team leader, you're getting fucking paid for that.
Yeah.
To get these people to work together. Now here you're playing a game and you're trying to get them to work together. It's
and that's the thing. It's one of the reasons why
sort of changing the concept of what's going on with the whole thing.
And it's one of the reasons why I've come around to the idea of DMs getting paid. I personally, I would take a gig as a paid DM to make money. I would not charge my home game people to come play with me. I get it.
I'm the same way. Absolutely. I would completely.
Yeah. So I get why they do it. If somebody said, "Hey, man, do you want to come DM for my company and make $100 a session or whatever?" Sure, great. Fuck it. I'll get paid to run a game, but I would never demand it from people that I'm going to personally interact with my friends and whatnot.
Well, I actually attempted to do it at a summer camp. Was it a year ago? I hooked up with this. There's this place. They do like creative programs or whatever,
right.
And they wanted to offer Dungeons and Dragons online. And I was like, "Oh, I'll be your DM." They said they knew I ran it. It's like, "Oh, great." They ended up not promoting it enough.
Of course.
But I was going to be getting paid by this camp to be a DM for them. So, yeah.
Yeah, so
again, I think at that point, I would have to deliver. I would personally put on myself a certain level of game that I would deliver because I'm getting money for it.
Yeah, so I think like I said, I think the shortage problem is finding people that want to do the work, especially like it's like when you find D&D and you're introduced to it, like being a player is awesome. Getting to be a consumer is great. Not everybody wants to put the work in to run a game. I think that's also part of the problem. Is that again, it's like I love video games, but if you told me that I couldn't play Civilization until I sat down and coded Civilization, guess what I'm not doing? Playing Civilization. Not going to happen. But I love that shit. So I think that's a bigger problem than the game being too complicated or there not being enough people or that kind of stuff. I think that again, there's a social part of it where it's hard to put yourself out there. I think there's a time commitment for the result that you get, and you got to be a certain kind of person to enjoy running the game more than playing in it, and those people are few and far between.
All right, so where are we going next here with this? Because like I said, there's so many connections.
We're gonna get into the shitty money part of it. The idea that it's under monetized, and then like you said, this being a cash grab essentially.
Yeah, well, the worst thing about it being a cash grab, the one thing that really, really bothers me as they go and start this switch over with the license and deciding if they're not going to have an open license for creators, it's really bizarre to me because the DMs Guild, right? Where people can create stuff that is licensed by them. And pretty much anything by them you have to put there, right? To me, that already sounds like there's some kind of weird monopoly going on.
Yeah, they take half off the top and they own your work.
And they own your this is nuts. Now this crosses into that where Nerd Immersion was talking about Wizards is offering a NDA where you can find out the future of the game, but you are like sworn to secrecy.
Yep.
Now, he's out there saying no one signed it, hashtag open D&D, but how do we know that people haven't already signed it? How do we know that Critical Role hasn't already signed it and they're going to I think this is already whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And that's where they talk about fracturing the games. Wait, let me finish.
Yep.
And this is why this DM shortage and both of these YouTubers talking about their game systems makes me think it's even more true. Yeah, because they already signed. I mean, they are the creators, right? Mm-hmm. Who are these creators that got these NDAs? Like he's talking about this. Oh, the creators got the NDAs, blah, 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 blah. Who were these creators? And I think, well, these two guys that just made the videos about the DM shortage, which goes back to exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And these guys already signed the NDA most likely, and either they're going to promote their own game systems or get a piece of the next pie and be forerunners for YouTube and everything else, and we're already shut out. And it's not that I want to be the number one YouTuber for them. I mean, I just like creating content. That's what I like to do.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you this right. I'm going to tell you this right now. So, I have already gone through this once with Wizards of the Coast. Back in the day, as a Magic player, and they've already laid out
you gotta keep going.
I know you hate here. I've told the story a million times, so I'll try to condense this. But I've already gone through this where they where they see that there's money being made outside of what they're earning, and they can't leave that shit alone. Like you said.
Well, wait. I'm not going to say what I said already because that takes me right to another article, which was December 17th by Thomas Wilde in GeekWire, where, president of, what did you call them? Alphabet Soup?
The Alphabet Mafia?
Cynthia Williams, come on. She was the Microsoft team leader, Amazon finance department. She doesn't know about this shit. And then they've just kind of jammed Dungeons & Dragons, Magic the Gathering. I'm reading this article, and I'm just like, holy shit, everything's here. And then they're like, Magic the Gathering. Then they're like, and the Xbox fans were really happy that Keanu Reeves was on stage. This is like, Oh my god, I feel like the computer's gonna shut down again soon. When I keep
I know,
talking.
right? You get the conspiracy theory?
Yeah, it's like everything is connected here, you know? And then they go into, and we're excited about the movie Horror Among Thieves.
Honor Among Thieves, yeah. What they're so excited they shut down the movie studio and sold it. That's how excited Wizards of the Coast is about it.
And then their 30th anniversary, they're having a Universe Beyond set, Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, it's horseshit. Let me finish my point.
And then it's crossing into Warhammer. Like, it's all one thing now. It's not even different things anymore.
Well, those are all everything. Okay, so we'll go backwards. All that crossover shit are shameless attempts at cash grabs. So this is their MO. They put out the game. The game becomes popular, and then they realize that they can milk money out of it by no longer treating it as a game and treating it as a revenue stream. So historically in Magic, there was they had the various tournament.
Well, and then you're absolutely right. But are they going to go the steps? I mean, we don't need to explain this to anybody. I think that's listening to us. I mean, are they going to go the steps and make their own virtual game? That we spent our first episode talking about.
Yeah, they're going to. Of course, they're going to.
So
and it's going to be microtransaction hell.
Okay, so this goes right back to my AI artists. Where are all the digital people now worried about the programmers for Roll20 and worried about these people at Foundry?
Oh, they're going to screw them too.
Well, it doesn't seem like the uproar is as big for them as it is for the artists.
Because they don't. Because they're okay. You ever hear the you don't drop a frog in a boiling pot of water because it'll hop out. But if you put it in there and slowly turn the heat up, the frog doesn't get out because it doesn't realize it's being cooked alive.
Right.
No, yeah. Like I said, they did it with Magic, slowly murdering off the secondary market, ruining the game as a game, turning it into a revenue stream to grab cash with all this other horseshit, licensing other properties to put out shit to buy, flooding the market. So I'm going to give you some math on this to prove how stupid how bad they are just in Magic. And Magic is the canary in the coal mine for D&D right now. Right now, as it exists, to buy a regular pack of Magic cards to use in a game in a tournament, which is run by a game store. So they sell the product, they run the tournament, they collect the fees, they make money off of Magic by offering this, right? It costs like
it's like Taylor Swift tickets and Ticketmaster. The triple double dipping.
Well, that's the thing. No, so the way it worked was the
how much is the pack?
Sorry,
you still haven't said it. How much?
Because you keep interrupting me.
Well, I brought you right back to it. How much is the pack?
So it used to be that it was $12.
How much is the pack?
I'm getting there. God damn it, you're salty today. It was $12 in product, $3 entry fee. So the store made $4 or $5 in profit off the product, and they made you $3. They made $7 on a $15 entry fee. Then the Wizards jacked the price up so that the buyers of the product, the stores, only could make about $5 a box. So 36 packs in a box, the store could make $5 in profit on all of them. And then they get their $3 in entry fee, right? Coming up this year, they're raising it up again so that a tournament pack, the stuff the store would sell, is like 5 cards for $9 or something. It works out to be, it goes from 30 cents a card to over $1 a card for what you have to buy in product in a store to play the game in an event. On top
and pay a registration fee probably to get in the game.
So what's happening is they're basically tripling the cost of the product for the players. The stores already can't make any profit on it. No one's going to pay those prices when they realize how screwed they're getting.
I didn't even want to pay for Magic cards when you didn't pay for tournaments. You went to other people's houses and played. Because I didn't want to lose my card. Why am I gonna pay and lose these things?
Well, this is the thing. So this is why this is relevant. Like I said, the canary in the coal mine for this.
Right.
So the game stores make money on the secondary market selling singles, and and other people around that, like artists and whatnot, could make extra money selling art alters and turning your Force of Will Magic card into Wolverine, for the artwork, right?
Right.
So Wizards saw that and goes, well, we'll just do crossovers. So instead of you paying an artist to draw on your Magic card and make it into a Space Marine, we're just gonna have 40K cards come out for you, kind of shit like that. So they're screwing the game stores. They're screwing the secondary people. They're destroying the primary competitive format for Magic that people would play in a game store. They're doing all those things, right? Because they realize those are all revenue streams that they could get. Now you look at you go back to bring it back to D&D, right? You look at the virtual tabletops, the secondary market, all this kind of stuff in Nerd Immersion's video. Secondary market generates 1% of the total D&D sales year. 1%. And Wizards can't leave that shit alone. Okay? So they get 99% of the sales, and they're under-monetized. Because it's not 99.5%. So this is the thing. Like I said, if you don't think they're going to come for your game store, you don't think they're going to come for third-party creators, you're out of your goddamn mind. And here's the worst part of it all. There's go back to capitalism. Currently, with the way this works, there's this ideal of perpetual growth. Hasbro put out there that they intended to double their revenue over the course of 5 years. Well, 30 or 40% of their revenue is Magic, and it's Wizards of the Coast stuff, basically Magic and D&D, right? So they need to double what they're making off of those to hit their projected goal.
Hey, have they put out a statement that they're not going to use AI art?
Not yet. I don't think so. Because here's the
thing.
Well, here's the thing. Do you know why they're not? Do you know why they're not going to do that? Because they can make more money if they don't pay artists.
That's why we were talking about before. That's what I'm saying. So, like the small company saying we're only going to use real artists.
Right. Well, this is the thing, though. What they're trying to do. I had this conversation earlier. What they're trying to do, and they with D&D, the D&D 1, their virtual tabletop, and all this bullshit. They're trying to create an ecosystem like Apple has. So here's the thing.
Yeah, that's very true. That's a great way to put it.
There are a fucking million amazing apps out there in the world, but if they're not in the Apple Store, iPhone users don't know they exist.
Gosh,
that's what D&D wants to do.
You just hit on the head.
Yeah,
they've got to sign a contract with a technology company.
Well,
which company would they go with?
Yeah, here's the
thing. Would they go Android or would they go Apple?
Apple, of course. Look, here's the thing. So let's look at the end game of this, right? They have a virtual tabletop that you invest your money in to get your digital books, to get your digital minis, your icons. They cut out every other aspect of the game they now have. You don't need to buy physical miniatures. You don't need to get together with your friends. You don't need to pay for a different virtual tabletop. They want to get to that point where they are the ecosystem. Once you're in it, once you've put all that money into it, you're not going to leave it. You're not going to abandon all that money. And here's the thing, and this shit's already been happening, by the way, if you want to get into conspiracy theories. So if my internet cuts out again, it's going to happen right now. There are people that bought digital copies of movies. Like they have them on, they have whatever, they have them on the computer, the devices, right? They have, so they spent $10 for Apocalypse Now digital version. They have gone back to check in their library of stuff, and they go, oh, where the fuck's my movie? And they get notified that the company has decided the movie now is inappropriate. So they've pulled it. You thought you bought it. No. You just bought the rights to access it. Well, we're removing the right to access it because we have a problem with it. What do you think is going to happen if they get their way? They build their ecosystem, and they go, all right, we're ready for D&D 1.5. So we're turning off all your D&D 1 books because that game's no longer out there, and we need you to rebuy new digital versions.
Isn't that already
shit you can do about it?
Isn't there? Aren't we already kind of? That's what I'm talking about. Aren't we already in that system with 5e? Can't they just say we're shutting this off?
Well, here's the thing. Because there's physical copies of the books out there, just like you said, the older versions, 4th and 3rd, all the older ones. the physical books exist. They can't turn that shit off. You can always pick up a physical copy of it.
Right, but like I said, I think the game's going to get dropped because there are not enough people who are going to be ready to do the math. I'm telling you, it's good. They're gonna go for the system that it's plug and play, and I don't got to think.
Well, that may be the case for some people. I think what's going to happen is this, and this is, I guess we can close out on this kind of points, because for once, I'm not going to be a downer about something. There have been booms and busts in RPGs for a long time, right? Like you said, the original boom with Dungeons and Dragons led to all these other game systems in companies, Palladium, FASA.
Oh yeah, I never realized that crossover, that Critical Role started with Pathfinder and switched over.
And then
that Pathfinder came out of the evolution of this whole thing.
So it's happened before. It'll happen again. I think, and with this, they will eventually screw over the secondary market. It's inevitable, because even if the people like the Chris Perkins of the world don't really want to do that personally, they are owned by Hasbro. It's a corporation, and they're going to force that direction. And if you're not willing to get on board with it, you can go away. One of the points of the video, one of these videos was, isn't it weird how Wizards of the Coast bought D&D Beyond, and all of a sudden, within 4 months, all of the original creation and design team for D&D Beyond all left.
Yep.
That's weird. Wouldn't you think that if Wizards of the Coast bought D&D Beyond and had plans for it, the people that built it from the ground up would want to stay? Be part of the next generation of their platform? No.
Well, and then like I said, and then you have the whole team led by a marketeer from video games, and then and then Hasbro is the biggest toy business in the business, and
like I said,
I won't go any further than that.
Yeah, but what's gonna happen?
I wish us all the best of luck.
Here's the thing: what's gonna happen? Like we talked about this before, and I'll bring it up here. Is they're gonna get their way, and they're not gonna get the results they want. They're gonna lock in a certain chunk of the player base who will be their revenue stream for however long they stay in the game, and there'll be people like you said that don't want to do the math. This is the game they play. They're not going to change. We have those now, right? And eventually, it'll, like I said, it'll end up in a spot where, it tanks down, and it's never what it could have been, and we'll all look and go, man, it would have been awesome, right? But in doing that, it will drive creators to find a workaround, build your own system, or like I was telling you earlier, it'll create a space for people to have content that is system agnostic, that is easily adaptable to whatever whatever game you want to play, right? And that will be the new market. It will open up opportunities for new companies, new people to be in there to ride that wave, to do those kind of things, while they run their D&D 1 into the ground. And I can tell you right now, I didn't do a single scrap of D&D 4th edition because I knew that shit was shitty World of Warcraft, and I'm like, no, I stuck with the edition that I had. So what's going to happen is they'll fracture the game community. People will continue to play the games. They'll get new product. They'll use old rules. We'll enjoy ourselves. They'll run their shit into the ground, and eventually another company will rise up, like Paizo with Pathfinder, and the cycle will begin again.
True.
That's what's going to happen.
I have to agree with you. I have to agree with you on that. And I want to end on the same positive note with the AI art, because I think the same thing is going to happen with AI art. It's going to reach a pinnacle and sort of be pushed away in a way. Like I said, it's going to get boxed out for people to use. It's going to get too complicated and case law, and people are just going to want to take their hands off. It's going to get too messy.
I don't know. I could see AI art going the way of Hollywood, where it stops producing films and starts producing content, and everyone's man, it's we have a thing.
I think we will always know the difference. I think, or either you'll like the style or you won't.
Yep. No, it's like we like I made the reason I made my point about music earlier as we always had a joke, and we're '90s kids with Nirvana and that kind of stuff. But we had a joke that the stuff on the radio we called LCD music. Do you know why it's LCD music? It's lowest common denominator. It's music that nobody likes. No one's looking for it, but no one's mad when it comes on the radio. No one hates it. You just don't look to listen to it. If it's on, great. It's okay.
That's great.
But with that being said, there was a lot of complaining about Wizards of the Coast, which makes me feel really happy. I think this was good. So for those of us that have hung out and listened this long, we appreciate it. Like I said, like, share, subscribe, let your friends know about it. Find us on, if you're an audio person, find us on your favorite podcasting platform. Give us a listen there. Share it with your buddies.
Hey, don't forget, stop by dungeonstudios.co. Check out our Volume 1 adventures and jump on our Kickstarter for our Volume 2s.
Yeah. And really quick, I forgot to mention this in the earlier Kickstarter promo, though. We have 20 days left. It means you have less than 3 weeks to not only get involved, help us out, help the studio out, but push us over the limit for our Kickstarter goals so that you and everybody before you can get more stuff for what they've already paid.
Take
That's value.
It to the limit one more time. Sorry.
All right, Doc's drunk. That's it. That's the end of the show. We're done talking. We appreciate you joining us, listening, however you listen to us. Thank you for sticking with us so far. We appreciate all that you do. We look forward to bringing you more good content. We have to have a discussion about what we're doing for next week, though, because it's the Monday after Christmas. So I don't have a life. I'm a nerd, so we can still do this if you want to. We'll have to talk about that during the week. We'll put out information.
We are going to try to catch up. And I was also going to try to get us a guest, so we'll see what we can do.
Well, that might be a little tough for the day after Christmas, but we'll definitely get together and talk again.
Know.
For the 0 people at home listening to us on the internet, we thank you very much. And remember, we all play tabletop games because they are limitless, so why listen to conversations that are any different?
Hey, be ready to roll initiative anytime.
Wait, what's the last one? You skipped over the last line.
Oh, you mean no matter how you start out, you always start out odd? You like that one, eh?
That is wonderful. You kids enjoy. Have a good night. Thank you very much. Goodbye, Internet.